Welcome back. We're sorry about that. We had a blackout. Never heard of that one before, but stranger things have happened in 2020. Let's jump right back into the action with Yas and Peter.
Thank you for that, Tanya. Indeed, we had an unscheduled technical blackout. Peter, if you could go back to the position before White played the move knight h4, I just wanted to say that Boris Spassky had played Jakub Yukman, and Jakub didn't play the move h6, but went f5 and allowed White to play knight g5, and Boris went on to win a very nice game. And that's why the move h7, h6 is so important. But it's also, Peter, a move that Black really is reluctant to play.
Yeah, exactly, because h6 is a very nice of stopping knight g5. On the other hand, exactly as we see in the game, Liren very nicely puts his knight on h4, basically anticipating this whole plan from Black with f5. E takes f5, kind of typical in this position. You don't want to give Black the chance of playing f5, f4, because then this bishop on g2 will feel quite awkward. There will be too many weaknesses on the king side. So it's typical to exchange on f5, g takes f5. Now White has a very harmonious king side, but it all comes down to strategical nuances. Once this pawn, let's just imagine the pawn being on h7, then Black would have the very nice strategical idea of going knight g6, because the pawn from h7 could capture back after knight takes g6. But with the pawn on h6, this very nice move knight g6 is not possible. This is one of Black's problem in the position. So White puts extra pressure on the f5 pawn with queen c2. Black goes knight f6. White goes b4. Black plays the move bishop d7. He feels like, I should finally develop all my pieces. White went on to strike with c5, and while we had this break, we're discussing this position with Yasser, and somehow all the moves that happened in the game happened also in our minds during our discussion, because it all felt very, very logical. And Yasser put it, what happens, Peter, after e5, e4? And we were about to answer it, but we were trying to answer it, but now already we have it on the board, and Liren has played the move c5, c6. So I'm cheating. So Yasser, my move is c6, and f3. And please tell me how you want to continue with Black.
Exactly. Well, very nice. Very well put. Well, again, I think that during that whole blackout period, boy, we were having such a wonderful discussion. And I teased Tanya. I said that now her rating should be going through the roof. And she confessed that without over-the-board competitions coming up, her motivation to study has gone down. Now, f2, f3, you know, a long time ago, you were mentioning how this bishop on g2 was buried behind a pawn on e4 and behind a pawn, furthermore, on d5. So this bishop on g2 really didn't have a life. But as we know, Peter, the bishop on g2 is a loyal protector of the king. So it was, even though it wasn't playing an active role in the game, it's really a good king defender. Now, the move f2, f3 is perfect. You have to play such a move because you have to strike in the center, and Black was about to play moves like bishop f7 and in a way just simply round up this pawn on d5. So it's a very big, I want to say, timing, you know, who gets there first, right? So after the move f2, f3, it's all, I have this question of, you know, time. So let's go bishop f7, Peter, because again, I'm thinking that Black's idea is just to round up the pawn on d5, and I guess you have to take on e4, and I would take, and again, I think you have to take on e4. And here, I don't want to trade pieces so much because as a King's Indian player of sorts, I don't really play a proper King's Indian. I play a hybrid King's Indian. I like the King's Indian attacking positions I can get. So I try to keep pieces. Knight f6 takes d5.
Yeah, it's a very sharp position. However, in the game, Magnus captured immediately on d5.
Oh, okay. So
saying that,
willingly trading pieces. Okay.
I mean, he just thought that, okay, this pawn on d5 is there, let me take it because it really disturbs me. And
Okay.
before white gets f takes e4 in, yeah?
Okay.
And the
Yes.
game continued, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, f takes e4. And now I believe the big question is, can black somehow use the tempo on c3, or what is happening?
Right. So, uh, in a kind of a funny way, the knight on h4 was offsides, right? But the knight on h4 was also kind of this preventive, restraining kind of knight, preventing black from getting his pieces out. Now, suddenly, there are weak squares on the light squares, f5 and g6, and maybe this knight suddenly has a good role to play. So when you play a move like knight c3, Peter, the first impressions I've always I want to say I don't want to go along with your agenda. I mean, you're attacking my rook, and it's sort of like, yeah, I know you're going to take the rook, but can I do something else than go along with your script? Because I'm a little bit afraid if I go rook b3, you may play, some kind of move like rook a2, and maybe I get less and less happy about what's happening. So I start to think, can I use my knight on h4? Could I go knight takes f5 and sacrifice an exchange, Peter?
Yeah, you can, but where does it lead?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
okay, let me take let
Yes,
me take your rook as a
yes.
start.
And I'll take the knight, sure.
Yeah, you take the knight, and yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I already revealed that my favorite world champion was Tigran Petrosyan, so any exchange sacrifice comes very natural to me. Very, very logical, very logical.
Yeah.
And I'm with you, but I can also somewhere eventually sacrifice it back. I don't know exactly. The pawn on c6 is hanging, so does the h6 pawn. Yeah, it's very, very complicated, and
Right.
I would love to analyze this position, but Magnus, down to 2 minutes, had to make up his mind quickly, and he already chose something else, basically indicating he does not want to calculate or does not want to allow any of it, and he first captured on e4.
Right. And bishop takes e4. And only then played the move knight c3. So he didn't give white this option of sacrificing the exchange. And by the way, 2 minutes in such a complex position, I'm thinking that Ding feels like he's got a chance, a very, very serious chance in this game, Peter.
Absolutely, fully agreed. I mean, 7 minutes versus 2, and it feels like there should be something. On the other hand, it's such a position, if black will survive the next few moves, then if he managed to eliminate white's light squared bishop, then he will have everything under control. So it's all about timing the question. And look at this, Ding goes bishop takes h6, boom.
Ooh, whoa. Okay. We have this expression, lightning out of a clear blue sky, and like, whoa, that was quite the strike, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but such moves are exactly the moves you want to make when your opponent is down to 2 minutes, and it also feels very much in the spirit. You have to keep your momentum going. You cannot give the initiative to your opponent, and black has this problem that his knight on c3 attacks the bishop on e4 and the rook on b1. But does he have the time to take, and which one? He can only take one piece. And also, we should not forget that bishop takes h6 hit a pawn, and white is ready to exchange black's almost only defender, the bishop on g7. So very, very dangerous situation for black.
Absolutely. And the whole tactic is based on the idea that if you take the bishop h6, queen takes c3, and thank you very much, I've won a pawn and have eliminated this very, very disturbing knight. So I guess that kind of leaves Magnus in the situation of taking the rook and with with no pawn shield in front of his king. I don't know how to say it. It looks promising for white. So knight takes b1, Peter. Bishop takes g7. King takes.
No, I'm even not sure about bishop takes g7 because we have some intermediate checks. I mean, it feels that this might be just made by force. And Magnus played the move queen f6 with 44 seconds on the clock, basically making sure that he gets another defender instead of the bishop on g7, namely the black queen.
So knight takes b1. You wanted to play, in case of knight takes b1, you want to play bishop d5 check, bishop f7, queen g6. Beautiful.
Yeah, but then you still have the move queen f6. It still goes on.
Okay.
So by far, I mean, it's not clear at all, but really there are so many alternatives. I basically also fully agree as a player that intuitively with little time on the clock, you might just also believe your opponent that, okay, bishop h6, knight takes b1, this just doesn't feel right, it cannot be right. Okay, there are all these dangers, all these clouds around my king. Let me play queen f6 because, okay, after all, with this knight on c3 is maybe the best, I mean, clearly the best piece for black, and it gives counter chances. So if he can make sure that his king remains intact, then he still has good chances for counterplay.
Okay, so queen f6, defending the knight on c3, stopping bishop d5 checks by retaining the knight, hitting the bishop on h6. Most obvious move, dare I say it, bishop takes g7, Peter.
Yeah, bishop g7, but I mean, okay, if you exchange, I even don't know, to take with the king or, no, okay, probably I take with the queen.
Right.
Because otherwise you get knight f5 check extra option.
Right.
But you anyway have knight f5 somewhere. Okay, I take with the queen.
Okay, so knight f5 sure looks like a very attractive tempo, and I'll do it.
Okay, can I take on f5?
Yes.
Bishop
Completely.
f5. I mean, let's not forget, I also have some unpleasant checks maybe on d4.
Okay. I am a pawn up, right?
Yeah, but the c6 pawn is hanging.
Yes, of course it is. That's
yeah,
right.
But Liren, I like it a lot. He played bishop a7. He keeps the momentum going, and
Okay.
king h8, rook takes e8. I mean, this is in the spirit.
I agree. It certainly is. Wow. Okay. I mean, a moment ago, giving the lesson the next day, you're the student receiving a lesson. Just a game ago, it's hard to believe, but a game ago, Magnus Carlsen played a nearly flawless game. This looks like Ding is returning the favor here. This is amazing. Bishop h7, king h8, rook e8, Peter, and Magnus down to 11 seconds.
Yeah, it's terrible news for Magnus. Yeah, rook f takes e8, knight g6 played,
Check.
king takes h7, but where does it lead? Yeah, knight f8 check.
Double check. He takes the bishop. He's taking the walk. He's walking the plank. Queen h7 check, king g5 forced. Where's the mate? Where's the mate?
Well, it's right there. No, queen f4 checkmate.
Queen f4 mate. Wow.
It looks like a mate. Yeah, it is a mate. but you know, I just cannot understand one thing. Couldn't black go with the king to g8?
I guess he was afraid of queen h8.
No, okay, everything right, because after king takes f8, first you take on g7 with check. Yeah, this is
exactly.
And then you follow with rook f1, because it was so natural that you play first rook f1, but then black could have taken on f1 himself. Right. But yeah, just the intermediate move, the exchange on g7, and then rook f1 wins the game because you cannot parry the threats.
Holy smokes! I mean, we have a blackout on our communication broadcast, and right then decides one of the most brilliant games of the tournament gets to be played. Our apologies for that, but boy, we got to catch up with the fact that now the match is all tied, Peter. 1-1. What a comeback, and what a beautiful final position.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's this is what I meant already in the previous days as well, that when you lose, people say you are not informed. When you win, then suddenly you are informed. It's such small little nuances decide whether you get informed, because Ding finally got his position and he managed to show what a great player he is.
Tanya, are you amazed as we are?
Absolutely, Peter. As they say, form is temporary, class is permanent. And talking about the commentators, guys, the moment we said that things are looking bad for Ding and can Ding come back, he just strikes back and in style. I mean, that was a crushing victory. The only moment that stood out for me, after which actually Ding just handled it amazingly, was this position where he, right before white went c6, if we can have that up. And instead of e4 here, the correct plan and the correct way for black to handle this position is to go queen e8 and to keep this d7 bishop on this diagonal, making sure that the f5 pawn is defended. In all lines, he has to go e4 eventually and f3 will be played. But in all lines, if the bishop stays on this c8 diagonal, just making sure that the f5 pawn is protected, black's doing fine. But after white got in c6 and black's bishop went to e8, it was just flawless play by Ding, just building up on the attack, sacrificing the pawn on d5, not caring about all of that. And Magnus perhaps could have had better resistance, but it was still a very difficult position in all lines. And the finish, getting checkmated on the f5 square, definitely the confidence boost that Ding Liren needs in this match. We do have, we're watching these matches between legends and between champions, but I am I'm delighted to announce that we have another champion with us. We are being joined by somebody whose life story has moved and inspired everybody across the world. And I think it's truly a story about how human love and human support can overcome all adversities and all challenges and have this amazing impact on somebody's life, and then how chess can just be the miracle that makes dreams come true. And let's welcome, because I see he's on our screen, we've got Tani Adebumi with us. Hi, Tani. How are you doing?
Good. Hello, Yasser.
Hi, Tani.
Tani, it's amazing to see you. Have you been following the action on the tour?
Yes. And I see that Magnus won and Ding lost.
Did you see that last game? It was pretty crazy, no?
Yeah, the King's Indian. And it went wrong, and that was it. Also, the computer hates the King's Indian, so why play it? But it's a human, so it's more reasonable.
Tani, I've heard you're quite the attacking player, so can I assume that you like playing the King's Indian with the black pieces?
No.
No?
Probably play something else.
All right, fair enough. Now tell me, before we talk about other stuff, in this tour, who are you rooting for?
In the tour? Hey, Naka.
Well, he's made it to the final. That must have made you happy.
Mm-hmm.
And what about in the Magnus Ding? Now, Ding is playing catch up. How would you say are his chances of being able to beat Magnus into the finals?
I think. Wait. So what's the score right now?
So Magnus is 2 sets to Ding's 1. So, and Magnus needs to win 1 more set to qualify for the finals. It's a best of 5.
So I think Ding probably, mostly when he draws the game, that's when he gets his luck and beats Magnus. So I think he should, if he has luck, maybe he can draw 2 games and then get Magnus by a hook.
Tani, you mentioned that your favorite player is Hikaru. What do you like about his style?
More of the attacking me with the grown adult.
And I've also seen that you guys play do a lot of Puzzle Rush together. How's that experience doing Puzzle Rush with him?
Yeah, I've gotten better So, I mean, last time I just needed to learn more, but I've gotten better. So now um, maybe I have a good confidence that I can beat him in a 10 game match.
Wow. So, Tani, you're saying that in a 10-game match, you think that right now you can take him on?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And what do you think it is about your style or your way of playing that Hikaru should watch out for?
Like I know how to make tactics on the board. Like it's like a positional position, but then like I know how to like make it more tactical, more of my style. And also I think
sorry,
yeah,
go on.
I also think I have the best chance of beating him because I got a 54 and 3-minute puzzle battle and yeah, most of that. So I mean, and he has a 48, so it's a 6-point difference.
That's insane, Tani, because my high score on the Puzzle Rush has been 41 on a really good day. That makes me question my life choices. Okay, Tani, now it's been... Sorry, go on.
No, that was funny. That makes me question my life choices. What am I doing with my life?
Why am I here? Danny, now you've been in the US for 3 years and now you've gotten to meet some of the biggest names in the chess world. You played with them. You were in St. Louis. You won the big K3 state championship, which I think was a big turning point in your life. When you look back at whatever's happened, what has been like your favorite moment so far with so much going on?
Calling my dad after I won. Mostly.
And
yeah. I was with my mom at the time. That was the best moment.
Was this after the K3 championship, the state championship?
Yeah, it was right after I drew my game.
And what did he say? What was the first thing he said to you?
He's shouting. He's like, yay, yay.
There we have that photo. And tell me one thing. When you went into that championship, did you expect it to turn out the way it did?
So I guess yeah. I expected to win.
That's an amazing spirit. I love it. That's super inspiring. And what do you think it was that set you apart from the competition? Because all the other kids were also working on chess. They also had trainers. What do you think set you apart?
My talent and the work I put into chess. But let's say they had the talent, but also they had the hard work, but I don't know. Maybe I just played better chess.
Yeah, I think you definitely did. And Tani, we see on the screen your book, which is My Name is Tani and I Believe in Miracles. Tell us a little bit about these miracles, or how chess has what is chess's role in your life and how has it impacted you?
Impacted most of my life. Like I was in Nigeria. It was also very good, but chess was. It put me up more in the world than before. But chess really impacted my life all through.
You are an amazing ambassador of chess, as well as what confident and support of family and love and humanity can overcome the most difficult adversity. Tani, I want to, because I've heard that you're really good at Puzzle Rush, like you said, and we have sort of prepared some positions that I thought I could quiz you on. Are you ready to solve a little bit of chess?
Yeah. Maybe I want to play a puzzle battle with you.
Puzzle battle with me after me telling you my high score. I'm sure you're feeling good about that.
Maybe I could play Nakamura if he's now. Maybe.
Before that, I'm going to hand it over to Yas and Peter. They've got some questions for you, and then I'll bring up the chess and let's see how good you are at tactics.
Okay. Hello, Peter Lecco.
Hi, Tani.
Yes.
Hi,
I know how to speak your accent, and also I knew you like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Also very nice meeting you.
Yeah.
But I think Yasser already has some questions, and then I will take over, right?
Sure. Tani, I just had a very quick question for you. First of all, hello. How is the pandemic impacting your chess game? Are you improving?
Yes. It's on like 50-50. Like when I have school, then I have less time to play chess. I have to do my homework. I have to rest and all that. And then I get like some time to play chess. But like when I wake up, when there's no school or it's COVID, then it's like I start playing chess. And I pray. Then we do some things, and then I just start playing chess for most of the day. But I also rest and all that.
Wow, it sounds like you have a wonderful life. I'm jealous. Peter, jump in yourself, please.
Yeah, I would like to ask you, Tani, what fascinates you the most in chess?
Tactics.
Tactics, yeah? Yeah, because I remember, when I also started out that there was always something that fascinated me and asked me to do more and more. And I think this is always very, very interesting. And do you have a favorite player apart of Hikaru, or you just say that Hikaru is my idol?
That's a tough question. Okay, I say Hikaru is my idol. Wait. Tough question.
Yeah, sorry for that. Yeah, but such is the game. Yeah, it's always you have to make your choice. To be honest, I would also not be able to answer. It's very tricky, but I just thought maybe you immediately will answer from your heart something. But yeah, if it's difficult, then just don't bother with it.
I don't know who's my idol then.
Yeah, great.
And
all right, Tani, ready to solve some chess?
Yep.
Okay, I am going to bring up some positions as soon as I can. I'm struggling a little bit to get the controls up. Before that, Tani, I want some advice because I've got a 7-year-old nephew who's getting into chess right now. So if you could tell him one thing about how to improve, what would it be?
Focus on the moves. Don't think much in the game. Just focus if you find a good move. I know it's like Bobby Fischer, like this strong player, says you find a good move, find a better one. But the thing is that I think that you find a good move, like what's the point of finding a better one? If you don't find a better one and you just wasted like 30 minutes on your clock, then you're probably going to lose the game. Just like look for a good move. If you just know that, I don't know if I'm gonna, then you're thinking, no, if I'm just gonna say this, if like let's say you use that that phrase as like my idea, it's probably not gonna work. If you think of more than 3 or 4 moves and you start to choose, e4, knight d4, now c5, then you're going to get confused, and then you're probably going to pick the wrong move. It's like a 52% chance you're going to pick the wrong move. So when you find a good move, you think it's like, I guess it's an okay move. Like don't spend 30 minutes finding the best move. Just play the move and move on.
So make practical choices. Right. Well, that's some great advice to make practical decisions on the board and not keep looking for the stuff. Tani, we still have the chess for you, but that has to wait because the games have started. Will you join us for the commentary and give us your insights on these guys, how they're playing? Will you stay with us?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah,
I'll hand it over to Yasin, Peter, and Tani to take us through the action for the next game.
All Right. Thank you, Tanya. And Tani, thank you for joining us. Peter, we've got a way of getting into a Queen's Gambit Accepted. Tani, are you familiar with the Queen's Gambit Accepted?
Yep, I'm very, very familiar. I have like more than 30 or like
Wow.
100 games with this.
Okay, great. Because we've got one of the greatest theoretical chess openings expert, Peter Lako, who's going to guide us through the ups and downs of this position. Peter.
Yeah, first of all, I have to say that I very much like Liren's choice, because now that he managed to equalize the score, he had to decide what to play with the black pieces, and let's just get back to the critical position after move 4, because here we had seen that in the first game of today's match, Liren after c6 lost a very, very painful game to Magnus, and it was the big question how he will deal with this situation, and he chose the Vienna variation. And after Vienna, it felt like Magnus says, I did not really anticipate this, I did not expect this, so I don't want to go for the most principled, most sharp way. And he goes for a playable setup with e3, a6, a4. Not that ambitious, but on the other hand, I recall that Magnus himself used this already a couple of times with great effect. Black played the move c5, bishop takes e4, knight c6 castles. And now we have some very important key moment happening in this position, because black has two choices. Whether he releases the tension immediately with c takes d4, e takes d4, and then goes bishop e7. But this gives white extra options because the bishop is already opened, so white could go bishop g5. And in this regard, black first goes bishop e7, waiting for white to show his cards. Yeah, if white cannot develop the bishop immediately, and he doesn't really have a useful move. The drawback behind bishop e7 is that suddenly white has the option of playing d takes c5. Yes, he has this option, and Magnus has taken this option, but it's never really clear that does this promise more than symbolic advantage for white in this endgame, or does white able to pose serious problems for black?
I remember in 1992, Bobby Fischer, who hadn't played a public game in 20 years, played a rematch against his old foe, Boris Spassky, in 1992 at Sveti Stefan and in Belgrade. And it was like that match featured this queenless middle game quite a bit. And Boris Spassky put some pressure on Bobby in those Queen's Gambit accepted positions. Tani, is this a position that you would like to play? And if so, with what color?
I would like to play for white, and my idea is bishop d2 first, but I don't know, because of after bishop d2, I think black has h6. Stop my idea of knight g5 and knight e4.
Right.
You have to try to trade more pieces and get your bishop on the c3, the a1 to h8 diagonal.
Sweet, the long diagonal.
Yeah.
Now, Magnus played the move bishop d2 with those kinds of ideas you're suggesting, and black, knowing now what you've just told us, if I were black, I'd try to get my king off the open d file, probably play king e7. What do you think white should follow up with now?
Actually, king e7 had been played, it's on the board, but it's no surprise anymore, no, Yasser? I mean, if you suggest something, it's gonna happen sooner or later.
Exactly. The king can't stay on d8 forever. And in this case, I must say, I think it benefits black a lot that the moves a4 and a6 are included, because the b4 square is kind of a useful square for black, in the sense that sometimes he might just put his bishop there and make sure that his king remains kind of safe. I don't know. Tani, do you think white should get ambitious? Tani, do you think white could play a4, a5 and maybe put his knight on a4? Do you like that as a plan?
Yes, I do like it as a plan, and also it's a good idea to stop the weaknesses of b4 and b4 with the knight and bishop, because when your pawn's on a4, like it just makes it look more of a weakness.
Okay.
Because but when you play a5 and you get like knight e4, knight b6, then some of his pieces can't go to b4, and then you have like bishop c3, and also you need to watch out for knight e4 too.
Knight e4 too. Okay. What happened in fact in the game, Peter? He did play a5. Oh my goodness. Okay. My goodness. You see, Tani, Peter and I have this really big problem. We're afraid that the players can hear us, and that when we make a suggestion, they go, "Oh, that's a really good move," and then they go ahead and play it. So, we try to keep our voices down, and we just hope that all of the good moves that we recommend, they don't play.
So I recommend for like when the online chess happens, when there's cameras and stuff, I don't think it's really effective, and you need to like put so they can actually see what you're doing on your computer. Mm-hmm. So like face the cam, they can see like part of your face like this.
Right.
So if you look this way, they can still see you the same way you look that way. But then you also see what's on the computer and you see what they're doing. Because if like you just see their faces, they could be doing something else on the computer. And they're facing what they're doing on the computer, looking like, oh, I'm looking at the board, but they're actually using a computer or using a bot to play for them. So
I wanted to ask you about that. What's your thought about cheating in chess? Because if we're going to play chess online, that's a worry, right? You don't want to play against a computer. You want to play against Peter. You want to play against Tanya. You want to play against a human being. So what's your thought about, remote chess and cheating in chess?
I think the online is perfectly fine, but yeah, they have to turn the camera where the camera that they have is looking at your computer, not your face. Your face does not matter. The computer matters, because you're just looking at their face, and what's it going to do? Like, that's even more of causing cheating. What's it going to do? Because you're just looking at their face. If they look there, well, you're going to blame them. You're cheating, right? You can't do that. So, if you can see their computer and, they look this way, you can see their computer and, they're typing, why you're typing, man? Stop.
Right. Okay, cool. Back to the game, Peter. What has happened? White played the move a5, and Black played bishop b4, saying, well, maybe I can snap off this pawn.
Well, it's not even only about snapping, but it's the common reaction in this endgame that when White goes a5, you're going to go bishop b4 before White goes knight a4.
Okay.
And this is why it's considered that this variation is not really giving any advantage for White. So very curious to see what Magnus has in his sleeve. He spends time. It indicates that he is not super confident. I mean, at least he doesn't know move per move how to achieve. Believe me, he knows the ideas. He knows this type of positions, but you cannot really go around type of positions here because it's very concrete. Yeah, with this pawn on a5, you have to deal with this pawn. One of the main questions, will you play now knight a4 or not, I believe.
And if he does play knight a4, Peter?
Yeah, then the big question is actually, can you take this pawn? For example, you capture on d2, knight takes d2, you take knight takes a5, and after knight b6, you have the chance of taking knight takes c4.
Right.
But then knight takes c4 with the d? It doesn't look clear to me. But you have a d6 square too.
Yeah, we sacrificed a pawn, Tani, to get our knight to b6. That's a good square, but is it worth a pawn, Tani?
Yeah, the knight on f5 is worth a pawn. What if rook f d1? What happens? Okay. Rook f d1?
Yeah.
You can play it on the board.
Yeah, Peter's just catching up with you for sure. after.
Yes, sorry, yeah, there was some technical message for me. Yeah, what did happen after knight d takes c4, rook b8?
No, we were just wondering, first of all, in your assessment, Peter, does white have sufficient compensation after rook f1, d1, the move Tani wants to play?
Rook fd1?
Yeah.
Okay, there is some compensation, but I mean, if you don't have any direct threat, then I might be able to get out. I don't know, with bishop d7, bishop c6, or I can try to exchange the rooks with rook d8. I mean, it does not feel like white has more than a draw, but in this respect, it's also now a big question then after bishop b4, how Magnus is reacting, and he's taking way too much time. I'm not liking this. Something went not according to plans.
Really?
Wait,
Sorry,
I'm
Tani.
going to be Peter. So it's very interesting, and also the position, I don't like it for white. Why is Magnus thinking so much? And I don't like this for Magnus.
You do, Peter Lake.
Great.
Good invitation. Peter's impressed. You know, he gives you high marks. Peter, if we're not going to sacrifice the pawn, then Magnus says, if he's not going to go knight a4, then he's probably going to go knight e2 or e4. What's the story? Oh, my goodness. I was about to say knight e2, and I just looked at my board there, and I saw knight b1. That wasn't a move we would have expected.
What if just bishop back to d6?
Bishop back to d6. That looks like a decent move.
I mean, I guess the best is a draw in this position.
Yes,
Yeah.
somehow I have the feeling like Magnus had an intention to reach somewhere, but he mixed up something and he didn't manage to get where he wanted. I don't know, this a5, bishop b4, knight b1 sequence doesn't really strike me as the way white can fight for advantage. And in fact, look at this. Ding said, you know what, I don't care. Actually, I anyway maybe wanted to exchange the dark squared bishop, so let me just play bishop d7 develop. Bishop d7 had been played and Magnus goes rook c1. Black is perfectly fine.
Absolutely. It looks, as long as black's king isn't being harassed, it's perfectly happy in the center. The king on e7 guards a lot of important business squares, d8, d7. So my first impression is advantage black. I mean, I played the Queen's Gambit Accepted quite a number of years in my career, and this position that I see on the board is more than acceptable to me.
What if bishop takes b4 and rook e3? Or rook c3, anyone?
Okay.
Yeah, bishop takes e4 and rook c3.
Bishop takes.
Go rook a3 as knight back to c6.
But now it's still black to move because rook c1 was the last move.
Okay.
So imagine rook on h8, Tani, to c8. What was your idea that you wanted to show?
No, it doesn't work anymore.
You thought, okay, bishop b4 and rook lift, but unfortunately,
Bishop b5.
yeah, there's a pin. Oops. And suddenly it's black for choice. Oops.
And knight d2. I mean, it looks more of a draw time. Every time I look at the position, it just looks drawish.
But doesn't
Matter what happens.
but doesn't it feel to you, Tani, like black's pieces are more coordinated, a little bit more harmony? Like white's king is in a potential back rank checkmate situation. That can't be comfy.
Yeah, Magnus is not using my idea. He's like trying to find all the perfect moves. Just find the good moves and don't waste time. You have 7 minutes left, not enough time.
So you feel yourself to be more of a practical player, Tani.
Yeah, just
You
play
see
the
it-
good moves
and get on with business, right?
yeah. Because then you're like, no, I have 1 minute on the clock. Then you'd be like, now I have to start playing fast, and you keep playing fast, and then you lose the game. But if you just played your good moves, you got time, maybe your opponent could have flagged, or you could have just had a simple draw.
Question for you, Tani. When you're short of time do you panic or are you calm?
I'm mostly calm when I have like short of time. I mostly start playing like immediately though, one move I see. Like if it's a practical position, I'm down time, maybe I'll take 2 moves and think about it for like 2 seconds and that's it. But then I just start playing my instincts.
Gotcha. Now I don't
like when I had 54 in 3 minutes, I had 5 seconds left to get a 55.
Oof.
But then actually my instinct was actually the correct answer. And the puzzle was only 3 moves. And like it says it's like the rating is like 3,200 and it's like 3 moves and that my instinct was correct, so I could have gotten 55 in a row.
Whoa. Tani, I don't want you to give away too much for your rivals in your competition, but if you had to say what the best part of your chess game is, what do you think it is that you do better than other aspects in your chess game?
How to convert positions.
How to convert positions? You're good at converting?
Yeah.
That's tough. That's tough. I mean, that's hard. By the way, did you know that Magnus Carlsen is giving away for free an endgame chess lesson today? Did you know that?
No.
You could get a 20-minute endgame chess lesson for free after this broadcast. You could go to chessable.com.
Eva?
You can get an endgame lesson by arguably the greatest endgame player of the 21st century. What do you think about them apples?
That's good.
That's good.
Kiva. Okay.
How about if I were to offer you a special one-time only fee for a Magnus Carlsen endgame chess lesson? A discount. No, I'm teasing. I was saying.
Are you supposed, like, where do you go?
He played Rook HC8.
Oh yeah, I saw the broadcast. There's a bit of a lag there.
Oh, okay. So he did play the move that we expected, Rook HC8. And I don't know, Tani, it sure feels to me like Magnus, having lost game 2, is on the back foot in this game. Peter, your take of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, also by the speed. Yeah, both players are taking their time, and one cannot really say that this is an incredibly sharp position. On the other hand, both players have to make sure that they are very precise, because I believe that if White does some inaccuracies, he might even end up in some kind of a trouble. And in such endgames, if you end up in trouble, that's very bad news. But there are certain aspects. I mean, this pawn on a5 is a weakness, so White has to make sure that his knight somehow from b1 after the exchange on d2 lands on b3, for example. Immediately White gets comfort by protecting the pawn by the knight. Also, eventually White can jump with the knight to c5, targeting Black's b7, a6 pawns. So it's a lot about finesses, and it might not strike as a position which is so complicated, but it's very complex. And Magnus has played the move bishop f1, a very nice prophylactic move. Another route is to try to get a knight to c4, which would have the same effect, protecting the a5 pawn and maybe also aiming at the b6 square.
Just to clarify what you mean by that, if Black captures on d2 and you recapture with the knight, then thanks to this move bishop c4, you just vacated the c4 square and you're much more active there than on b3.
I don't like the position for White more. Because I mean, can you go back to the position where there's no trades? Because I don't think Ding is going to do it.
Okay.
That'd be a surprise if he does, but I mean, more of Black's pieces are more like more together. Yeah, like knight e4 just played.
Knight e4 is very logical.
Deng is putting a bit pressure.
But I got to ask you a quick question, Tanya. Tani, what about rook c6? Ooh, I wasn't fast enough. What do you think white would have done after rook takes c6?
Knight d2.
Ah.
Wait, knight d2? But then you just trade, right? But wait, go after rook c6 takes. Yeah, take.
Yeah, and then
Knight takes f3.
Ah, the intermezzo. Knight takes f3 check.
Yeah, and rook takes e8.
Right. That would have been it. And then black is superior, has a superior position for sure. Yeah. So that was why
Nakamura said, got the two bishops, mark it as a win.
All right. Very confident there. And you said you're good at converting. You know, that's the hardest part of chess is winning one positions. That's really tough. You said that you're good at doing that, but it's a skill to be able to do that well, Tani.
And the king side is just open too. Then you can play g5, g4, h5, all that. Okay. But okay, so it's knight b4 and knight takes d10. Okay, they trade off rooks.
They did.
Yeah, this. Okay, I have this bitter feeling that they're going to get in a position where someone is going to be winning and then back down losing and winning, back down losing. And then the game is going to end as Magnus winning.
Chess is a simple game, right? You know, two players sit down, they have 8 pawns and 8 pieces. And after pushing them around on the chessboard, Magnus wins.
Yeah.
It's that simple. But Tani, I mean, seriously, check it out. That pawn on a5, it's very vulnerable, isn't it?
Yeah, let's say they trade off the knights, and then I think it's almost losing because king d6, king c5, king b4, king takes a5, and like the pawns are on the dark squares, but that helps blacks more. That helps black more, even if but I mean. The bishop is on a light square. It makes sense, but it would be better if the pawn was an a3 because it's like hanging right down.
Right. But you can't move it backwards, unfortunately. Now, from Black's point of view, I mean, he just needs to get his bishop on c8 in the game. And do you like the move that Ding Liren played? e6, e5?
Okay. I think that. Oh yeah, I think e5 is the only move because let's say you wanted to go like king d6 and the knight c4 check, and this is a nice trap that king d6, knight c4, king c5. Nice trap of knight b6. The bishop is trapped.
Precisely. And so that move e5, that opens up the diagonal for the Yeah,
the game I played earlier today had that same type of attack. And I won the game with the knight b6 and the bishop was just trapped. My opponent wrote in chat like, man, how did you find that?
Sweet. Peter, your take on the position.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very, very dangerous situation for Magnus because it's such an endgame. If something goes wrong, then you might be lost, and it doesn't matter who you are. There are not that many resources, and after e6, e5, with black bishop going to e6, knight going back to c6, targeting this a5 pawn, white needs to find some very, very nice way to neutralize this, and it's not easy to spot that.
And not only that, Peter, just, it's not just the question that, okay, I got this ugly weakness on a5. It's also that black's pieces are just more active, especially the king.
Exactly. I mean, okay, this king on e7 is a monster. First of all, as also Tani mentioned, the king was very important because otherwise White's knight could have entered and Black's bishop could have been in trouble. But with a king on e7, it feels so harmonious, and this e6, e5 would have been a typical Magnus move from the black side, and we would be praising that, wow, of course, Magnus plays a move like e5 automatically. So let's also give credit to his opponents, because that's the point. If you get a good position, then finding good moves comes much more easy. And you remember I talked right from the beginning that I like the choice of Liren, because if that's what Magnus got against the Vienna variation, then why Ding at all went for any kind of complications in this anti-Moscow variation if he can get such a nice position. So I'm pretty sure that Magnus will never repeat this variation anymore in this match. But actually, if Ding can win this game, then he can start a great comeback.
No question about it. And he captured on e5. And Tani, jump in right now. This moment, imagine you're black. Imagine you're playing the world champion Magnus Carlsen. $140,000 is in your pocket. If you can win this game, what would you do right now?
For black.
For black.
If I draw the game, what happens?
No, you got to win it, dude.
You
know what,
okay,
Maurice?
I feel like I'm just down a pawn.
Good start. Good start. Keep going. So how are you going to get it back?
A nice e6.
Yes, very good. And the knight going to c6 forks the pawns on a5 and e4. So what about White's knight c4? How are you going to get the $140,000? How are you going to win back the pawn?
Bishop e6.
Bishop e6. Very good. And Peter, you jump in. How do you rate Ding Liren's chance?
Yeah, knight d6. What happens after knight d6?
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have to go for this knight d6, and we will see some very forced variation. Knight takes a5, White's gonna go b4, Black goes back knight c6. You take on b7, I take on b4, and this knight on b4 protects the a6 pawn. This is, I think, the big problem White is facing, and I don't know exactly how to improve White's play.
Knight c5. Knight c5. What happens? Knight c5.
And then a5.
Bishop b5. Bishop
b5. So at the end of the day, Tani, it's Black who has the, I want to say, better pawn structure, right? The double pawns for White. And
I'm going to keep fighting. e4.
Of course. We never stop fighting. That's what grandmasters do. We're warriors, Tani.
Yeah, and this actually happened in the game. Knight c4, bishop e6, and Magnus chose the move king f2. So he wants to make sure that when Black takes back the pawn on a5, then he gets his bishop to d5. Yeah, this should be the concept of Magnus. So he went king f2, basically inviting Black that, okay, you cannot really strengthen your position. You have to take sooner or later on c4 if you want to get the pawn back. If you take knight a5, I'm gonna go bishop d5. The big question also, okay, but after knight c6, if you go knight c6, you are not threatening anything yet. And you can't really move this b7 pawn because then the knight is hanging, and if you take on e5, then b7 pawn will be hanging. This is the defensive method of Magnus.
Indeed, and we have seen what you just said, Peter. A trade, and bishop d5 and knight c6 on the board. So the players are catching up to us. Tani, an important question for you. Do you think these players are cheating because they find all the moves that you and I and Peter have found?
I mean,
or are they just
how did Magnus become a GM? How did he progress online? Did he cheat?
No, I don't think so.
No, he didn't cheat.
No, I don't think so. I think they're just really good. What do you think?
And they're also better than us, so
okay.
Maybe they're not going to pick our moves, but we have the engine with us, so come on.
Exactly. Now, Peter, I think everybody on our panel is in agreement that black is for choice, but is it serious?
Yeah, that's exactly the question, and I'm a little bit surprised by Dink's knight takes e5, bishop takes b7, a5. Of course, it's a very safe choice. You know that you are a little bit better and you are running no risk. I was just wondering if anything like knight d8, it's slightly passive move, but I got this pawn structure and then trying to advance my pawns maybe to b6 and then to a5, activate my knight via e6 to c5, keeping this kind of pawn structure with my extra queenside pawn. I felt like it's more ambitious, but okay, I don't know what Dink has in mind.
I agree completely. I would have been incredibly reluctant to trade off for this doubled e5 pawn that's kind of isolated for that really good looking pawn on b7. So knight d8, b6, that definitely got my choice. And he's just played this move g5, and it does trap White's king in a bit. White's king is in a bit of an unpleasant box on the king side, and I can see Ding Liren wanting to go king d6, king c5, king b4. Tani, that was a maneuver you mentioned, heck, 20 moves ago.
Now I think they're cheating.
Because they play so good?
No, they keep playing our moves.
That's what I'm talking about. You see,
we're the world champions.
Right.
They're Yacker, they're Peter, they're me.
There you go. And Peter, maybe Ding made the right choice after all. Knight takes e5.
Well, if it's better than the other, I don't know, but definitely I know as a player that once you spot such an idea that, okay, you take on e5, you go g5, and you run with your king to b4, and it looks very, very nice, then you might simply not think about any other alternatives. Whether Ding really chose between knight d8 and knight takes e5, I'm not completely sure. In any case, it's a very interesting position because, I mean, White has to run with his king, yeah? King f2, king d6, king e2, king c5 had been played. And now the big question is that after king d2, can I play knight c4 check? Is that an option, for example?
Yes, you can force definitely a king and pawn endgame. And Tani, have you practiced your king and pawn endgames? Do you know if this is a win for White or a win for Black or a draw?
Wait, there.
You know, the professional answer in such moment is that it looks dangerous. It looks dangerous, you know?
Nice. I didn't realize that was the professional answer. I've always heard it looks interesting.
That's a draw. I have no way to win that.
No way to.
Blunders.
Holy smokes, bishop b7. Magnus was maybe afraid of the king and pawn endgame, and that looks like a terrible move to me because doesn't that allow Black to... Oh, you're about to play king c4. I didn't even see that move. I was thinking knight c4 and to force the pawn on a light square. I would have thought that would have been, really bad.
Wait, yes, are you Canadian?
Sorry?
Are you Canadian?
How dare you, Tani? Of course not. I'm America. I mean, I've been playing for the U.S. Olympic teams before you were born. It's incredible.
Holy smokes, no, huh? Oh my God.
That's because I do too much streaming with Aman and Eric Hansen. Now they're Canadian, and I think they're rubbing off on me. Tanya, welcome back.
Hey, yes, I'm just popping in to tell you that the world champion is in a lot of trouble right now, and you are on the money with your suggestion of king c4. He has gone a4, but king c4 was close to game over for Magnus, and I'm not sure what he saw, but let's take a quick look at this line. King d2 has to come to defend the pawn on b2. You go king b3, king c1, knight d3 check, king b1. You take on b2, After bishop d5, knight c4, and you pick up the f7 pawn, but the a pawn and the king moving on to e3, g2 with king c3, king d3. These threats are too powerful, and it shows that black was completely winning on this line. a4 still keeps some advantage, but now white has the opportunity to come back into the game.
That's GG's. Huh.
Thank you for that, Tanya. We've just seen, in fact, king to d2 and allowing a knight fork, Peter.
And also, Tanya, it's Tani and A.
Tani
Yes.
A. Tanya, Tani, and A.
Yeah.
My name's Tani. Is Tani A. Tanya.
And Tanya. But I'm sorry, but this also looks completely winning for black, Peter. I mean, it's just an extra pawn, and everything has gone wrong for Magnus in this game.
Yeah, I mean, okay, the whole point was that with this pawn on a5, you just don't have the freedom. I mean, it was clear that he mixed up something, and when he had to go back to the knight b1, I also like the way how Liren continued the game, because it looked like it's a little bit premature that he was exchanging all the pieces, but in fact he had foreseen that after exchanging all the rooks, then his king on e7, already the king in the center, combined with this e6, e5 ideas, he will have excellent chances. And yeah, Magnus in a lot of trouble. His only chance is that thanks to his bishop and the reduced material, maybe he can hope to survive.
Okay, and Tani, you said you're good at converting. If you were black, would you be playing f5, f4 and rushing ahead? Or how would you convert this position?
It doesn't look also that good, but I think the only way to convert this position, let's say like black goes knight f1, and of course you have to go g4.
Right.
Like knight h2.
Okay.
Yeah, just to stop bishop f3, bishop c8. I think the main idea is that bishop, like you go bishop f5, and it's more of like you're stuck in the position. But also black also has this idea of like king d5, king e5, maybe sack if knight takes g4 and f5 and start pushing your pawns.
Exactly. So you think that would go?
Yeah, so I think that playing bishop f5 is a mistake, and then you just have to leave it on c8. If like king comes to c7, and just go to bishop f5, because then if he goes d6, and then you go back. And yeah, I think that's the only way to keep the position safe.
Yeah, the problem I'm having, Tani, is in this kind of sequence that you've mentioned, the pawn on f7 isn't playing a great role. And I'm thinking that you might want to push him, baby, you know, get the pawns up the board. What do you think about f5? Get it going. Here you are threatening knight f1.
Yeah, so probably after f5 anyway, white has to go bishop c8. One of the things I would really like to have in this position, this black pawn from a4 to move back to a5, yeah?
Right.
Then I would feel that it would be kind of elementary technical win. But with the pawn on a4, I feel that white has chances to survive, and knight f5 had been played, forcing the pawn to g4. Yeah, g4 played, knight gets back to e3. So expecting some bishop c8.
I'm sorry, Peter, could you just show that one line again with f5? Because I really thought that was just a winning decisive move. I thought your bishop c8 was forced, and I thought knight d5 check would come as a kind of a blow. The king has to move, then you go knight e7, exactly, and then bishop king b4, exactly. Or no, this.
But maybe I get counterplay with king d4, no?
Exactly, you do. I apologize. This isn't. I'm not converting, Tani. I need help. I need help. What has happened in the game, Peter?
Yeah, so we are having, this is the current position, g4, knight e3, bishop f3, f6 had been played, now king d3 is played. And both players exactly equally done on time. I mean, 1.5 minutes each.
And after king d3, knight c4 has been played, king c3 has been played, and I'm assuming knight e5, bishop d1, king b5? Or what do you think Ding Liren has in mind, Peter?
Well, to be honest, I'm a little bit confused because I spotted this move king c4, as Tanya mentioned. Computer said as well that it's winning, and it looks so natural because the bishop left that diagonal and you could enter that. Now I have the feeling that once black missed such opportunity, then somehow this game most probably will end in a draw, because that's how you get punished by missing your chances usually. But still, okay, black has still chances to win. But I would put already my money more on draw.
Uh-huh. And how about you, Tanya? Do you see that Ding really missed his chances? I mean, because we've talked about his missed opportunities. It's almost painful when he misses his chances, huh?
Yes, Peter is absolutely right about Ding having messed up his big opportunity, and in fact, a4 was not the end of the world. He still held a lot of advantage, but the way he handled it with pushing this pawn to g4, and now this particular position that we have, most of the advantage has been blown away by Ding Liren. And after a move like king d3, he's gone bishop g2. But the thing is that it's now really difficult for black to actually break this position without trading too many pawns. And I think this pawn on a4, this is the critical point of this whole thing, that having the pawn pushed to a4 was perhaps not the best decision, because he had to play extremely accurately after that, because in all lines the white bishop will be able to attack this pawn on a4, which is why it was much better to have it on a5. The computer doesn't give a huge advantage to black. Of course, black's the one pushing, but I think it's going to be extremely hard for Ding, especially given the time situation, to be able to convert this now.
Thank you for that, Tanya. And Tani, now we've got this kind of a similar situation. You'd wanted to chase the king towards the g4 pawn, and Ding Liren is going after the b2 pawn. In your opinion, has Ding Liren made the right decision, right call?
He's going to the, I don't think he made the right call, because mostly then the g4 pawn is more just stuck with the f6 and g5 pawn, but now you're king d4.
Yeah, now this is just a complete draw already. The computers are giving it as an evaluation that black has got no advantage, and this is the point he has, that black can never run after the b2 pawn anymore because of this weakness on the a4 pawn, which white will always keep an eye out. And white's king is rushing towards the pawns on the king side, making sure that they don't get anywhere. All advantage, big opportunity lost by Ding Liren in this round.
Yeah, that was a big mistake. He should have went for the g4 pawn. And sacked, because I mean, like, sacking, like, then, like, maybe your king can go to, like, the b2 or a4 pawn a bit, so that there's no queening that fast. And then the pawns from f5 and g5 just start running up the board. You ain't stopping them. Okay, maybe you have some bishop h5 ideas, but then the king can run.
Peter, I gotta feel, man, I feel terrible for Ding Liren, because this was such a pivotal game and such an opportunity to win the set.
Wait, what happens? Wait, after f5, pawn takes a g4, king d5, g3, bishop g2.
No, now Magnus came up with this very nice tactical shot of bishop takes a4, because his king is just too active and the knight will not be able to protect the pawn.
Wait, there's no way, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's really sad, Tani. There's no way. And again, Peter, I just wanted to get your thoughts there on what a missed opportunity. This could have been.
Also, now Ding is down by time. Yeah, you should have just went for the good moves.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, okay, the game actually just finished in a draw. Yeah, I mean, what I wanted to say, absolutely fully agreed, because I mean, he won a brilliant game in game 2, so he came back, and somehow it felt like Magnus didn't know how to deal with the situation, what to play for. Ding made the right choice in the opening, got Magnus out of his comfort zone. Then Magnus was heading towards endgame, which usually suits him, but with this pawn on a4 and the weakness of the b4 square is not the type of endgame Magnus really likes. He likes when he has everything under control, and here it was not the case. Then he somehow made some nervous decisions, and Ding played a perfect game. It looked like he's just about to win when he missed this win with King C4, as Tanya has mentioned.
Right. And Tanya, I think we have to thank our guest for coming on the show, sharing his life story, and showing us some
Go
good
for
moves.
tactics. The tactics thing.
Yes, I think we're going to be going on a break. So we do have some more time with Tani. Tani, we're going to come back to that, but I'm not letting you go before you show us exactly what you got. But yes, let's go back to that very important. We're going to bring this tweet up in a bit, but yes, let's go back to that position where we had King C4, because I think there's a really nice subtlety and why King C4 is so strong. After King C4, we saw this line with King D2. It's all forced because otherwise you lose the B2 pawn. You have to come to defense. And after knight b2, bishop to d5, knight c4, bishop f7. And the whole point is that after king b4, the e3 pawn actually falls by force. And now there's no way to defend it if you go e4, knight d2 check, picking up the e4 pawn. Bishop c4 is a lost king pawn ending. And because this pawn falls, the a5 passer is what you want to create to be able to win this game. And again, a4, in fact, it is the second best move, second best choice of the computer, maintaining the advantage. But the problem with a move like a4 is just simply how committal it is. With very short time on the clock, you have to play accurately. It's still winning for black in certain lines, but so much accuracy is required because white is always hunting down this pawn on a4 with bishop c8, bishop d7 ideas. And I think this was, like you said, Peter, a big opportunity by Ding Liren, missed after a really stunning game, actually. The way he traded off the right pieces in the middle game after knight e4, trading off the minor piece, trading off the rooks off the board. I think it was brilliantly played by Ding, but just a heartbreak at the end. And this just shows how difficult chess really is. Tani, are you ready to show us how difficult chess really is or not?
No, I don't want to show her.
Come on, you can do it, Tani.
I'm going to show how easy it is.
Yes.
I like that. I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna pull a position up. So I thought that we could perhaps go through some really interesting moments that we've had throughout the tour, Tani, where we've had some really tactics which have sometimes been missed, sometimes not, but standout moments. And let's see if you can spot them or spot what some of the grandmasters and some of the top players actually missed. So first up, give me a second. I'm going to pull it up. All right, let's start with this one. And if you've seen any of these positions before, you've got to tell us, okay? Because that's not fair then. All right, so you see the position on the board. And yeah, and now
I don't see the position.
Sorry, 1 second. I'm just going to pull it up. You should be able to see it now. Do you see it?
So black's move, right?
Yes. So white's just gone, black played rook f8 and white went rook c4 and wants to pick up the knight on b4 if you pick up the bishop. What do you think about rook c4?
Isn't rook f7 a free piece?
Why is it a free piece?
Rook takes b4, queen e1.
Okay, fine, I get it. It's really easy, but here's a little thing for you, all right? Magnus actually missed this. And this was a sensational moment that Hikaru Nakamura in the Armageddon game, actually, that's how it happened, Tani. That's exactly how it happened. Hikaru Nakamura played queen e1 check, picked up the rook on b4, and advanced to the Lindaris Abbey rapid final by beating the world champion. Blunders happen. All right, let's move on. That was just a starter one. Made it easy.
Disturbing.
You ready for round two?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so here we have it, and this is white to play. It's Fabi against Anish, and what would you play with white here?
I'll go rook g5.
You'll play what?
Rook g5.
And you haven't seen this game before.
Nope. Nope.
What's your idea?
Rook h5 and mate.
Damn. All right. And that was what was played. And that's exactly how Anish wrapped up this game. And of course, in this position, white could also have gone queen g5 and picked up the f5 pawn, maintaining an advantage. But rook g5 is just such a stunning construction. And there's no way, nothing that black can do to avoid rook h5, king h5, queen g5 check. All right, Tani, I'm impressed. Let's move on. You ready for the next one?
Why not? Yep.
I feel like these have been too easy for you. Let's step it up a little bit, okay?
2 for 2.
2 for 2, yes. All right. This was between Hari Krishna and...
Queen a7.
You've seen this.
No, I've not seen it. That's it.
Okay, rook a4, knight a4, queen a7. What happens after rook b4? Because that move is there on the board.
I know. Does queen a8 matter?
Okay, queen a8.
Queen a8, queen a5, or you could just go queen a5.
That's the idea. That's the idea. So let's have that on the board. And this is again something Hari played h4 in this position, but that was the whole point here. Hari went h4 and missed this golden opportunity where he could have actually wrapped the game up against the world champion. And queen a5 is what I had a small talk with him at some point after, and he said he actually did not see queen a5 in this position, missing this. All right, Tani, on a roll. We've still got a few minutes, so I'm still struggling to give you any fight here. Let's see what else we can find. Okay, this one's like mega easy, and you're probably just gonna laugh at us, but I'll still put it up. What do you think? Like, you've got 5 seconds. Would you play rook h7 here?
What? Would I do what?
Would you play rook h7 with white here? What do you think about rook h7?
Rook a7?
h7, yes.
Well, no, why? 91 mate? Nah, I'm not gonna do it.
You're not gonna do it, but Tani, that's exactly what Wei Yi did against Sergei Karyakin. And actually lost.
Headache now. Oh my god.
He went rook h7 and 91 mate, and this was game over. We've had some incredible.
We all make mistakes. We all make mistakes.
We all make mistakes. This is true. Okay, now let's bring up this one's a tough one. This one's a tough one. All right. Black to play.
Okay. Give me 10 seconds. Is it bishop g2?
I don't even know what. This is annoying. Okay, so bishop g2. What happens after bishop h8?
Queen h3.
I want to be Tani when I grow up. I've decided. Okay, last one before I let you go. And this, if you might have seen this because this is super fresh in all our memories. It was from a game yesterday. So if have you had a look at this position?
No.
All right. So here, white to play. Magnus went rook f3. What comes to your mind?
Rook takes f7.
Let's take a look at what happens. So rook f7, king f7.
Queen e6.
All right, king g7.
Queen. Queen e7. Rook f1.
It's interesting you say this because this is the line that Peter and Yas were also discussing. And then after a long time, I think Peter found this resource of rook h7 and keeping everything under control. And
I'm gonna find
You were absolutely right, but here the correct move is knight e7, and there was no way to defend the g6 pawn. The world champion went on to win the game, but it was a pretty tactic that he missed. I mean, that's like really, I see now where your puzzle rush score comes from and where your attacking instincts come from. We are going to be starting our next round soon, so we're going to be saying goodbye to you. But before you go, I have to ask you, what is it that you would, Tani, you've inspired so many people across the world. Your story is just incredible. And also the fact that, after, I think the one thing that really struck me was that after the GoFundMe campaign and with the big success that happened with it, your family decided to use that money to help other children in other families in similar cases who were refugees in the United States. What's your message to everybody, and what would you like to say to all of us before you leave?
Hard work beats talent if talent does not have hard work.
Sorry, repeat yourself, Tani. I missed it.
Hard work beats talent if talent does not have hard work.
All right. Wow, Tanya, I still can't believe you're 9 years old. And this reminds me of an article that I'd read in the New York Times by Nicholas Kristof. And he said that, opportunities are limited, but talent is universal. And when there's talent everywhere and hard work like Tani's put in, magic happens. Thank you so much, Tani, for joining us. And
if Icard is watching, can we play Puzzle Battle now? Yeah, can we play Puzzle Battle now? If he's watching.
There you have it, Hikaru, an open challenge from Tani, who also believes that he'll beat you in a best of 10 match. All right, Tani, all the best, and thank you so much for joining us. You are an absolute rock star.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Tani. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tani. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tani. Bye-bye.
He likes imitating you, Peter.
I understood it, yeah. But probably my accent is just such a nice challenge for Tani. He just loves challenges, and maybe it's not even a big challenge for him. It just comes naturally, just by solving all these puzzle rush positions.
Yeah, it looked to me, Tanya, like Tani is saying, I can play with these guys. You give me these kinds of positions, I can win them.
It was insane, yes. And I think the one thing that came across was just the confidence that he has. And of course, you can read up all about Tani on Chess 24. And there's a book as well that on Tani, and it's called My Name is Tani and I Believe in Miracles. And his life story is really, it really makes us all believe in miracles and just the impact that chess has on people's lives. And now he's just a perfect ambassador, I feel, for this entire impact chess story that we have for the Magnus Carlsen chess store benefiting Kiva final. And we had Arvind write in with, wow, who's this amazing prodigy kid giving an absolute killer speech? The maturity is stunning. Absolutely, Arvind. And it's incredible because when you think about just how much the family's gone through and just how hard it is to leave everything behind and move to another country because you're forced to when you seek asylum there, and then just how people come together and the community can come together to help somebody, to help them set up, and the love and the support that you can get, it cannot be measured. That's just simply priceless. And with chess in that mix, just magic can happen. We've got games, we've got liftoff really soon. Before that happens, let's talk about the chess that we've had. I have to say that the last game that happened, Yas and Peter, is going to be something that's going to be hard for Ding to forget, because of course he knows that he missed a golden opportunity there. And to be honest, Ding is such a masterful player when it comes to technique that I'm really surprised that he was not able to convert it. I mean, change the colors, and I have no doubt that Magnus would not have messed it up the way Ding did.
Yeah, that again, that's a painful miss. But Tanya, having said all of that, I mean, they've been on a roller coaster ride since day one. Ding's got to feel pretty good about his chances. I mean, we've got a set. I mean, Ding Liren will have white in game 4, and if he can win it, he'll force another set of games tomorrow.
Yes, indeed, yes. And he needs, if he wins it, That means we get another match tomorrow. If it's a draw, we go into tie breaks. But of course, if Magnus Carlsen manages to win this game, he qualifies. He wraps up his semifinals and qualifies into the finals. I have to say, yes, with when you're playing against the world champion, you don't get too many opportunities. You don't get so many chances to win the game. You don't get so many chances of even having a better position. And when you do, you better make the most of it, because it's not going to come back easily.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. It's sort of like, when they're beating you, they win, these world champions. But when you're beating them, if you give them a tiny window to escape, they'll jump right through it. So when you get these opportunities, you really got to nail them. That was a big miss. But once again, Ding Liren in here with a shout. Thank you, Tanya. And Peter, oh my goodness. I was just about to ask, are we going to see a repeat of the King's Indian? And I wanted to say no. But I see G6 is on the board.
Yeah, as Magnus pointed out that he used to be very stubborn. It seems like he is still very stubborn. No, I mean, he insisting on G6, but now with C5, he's trying to mix things up.
And offering, after the move C5, a kind of a G3 Benoni, possibly even a Benko Gambit. But D4 takes C5. I don't know about you, Peter, but I always felt a sense of relief when my opponent played D4 takes C5. It almost felt like, well, he's not really trying to press an advantage. Your take?
Yeah, don't be fooled, because this is modern chess, and one of the basically the new development in this whole variation with third move G3 against the King's Indian Grunfeld, that after C5 you are not forced to go for this D5 Benoni type of positions, because then one can argue that once you have committed to G3, those are very complex middle games where Black has all the chances to claim that he might be objectively fine. And the other option of playing Knight F3 is kind of known not to lead anywhere. And in this regard, it was very important, and the big discovery in the last couple of years, that in fact, after C5, believe it or not, this D takes C5, Queen A5 check, Knight C3, Queen takes C5, and here the move, I believe, Queen A4 is posing some questions for Black.
Wow, I feel almost like chess theory goes incredibly full circle, because back in the day, I mean, a D5, after you play the move C5, the move that everybody was terrified of was D5 and so on. And I always, just inwardly felt D takes C5 wasn't that great. But then again, wasn't I playing Knight A6, Peter, against captures on C5? I saw that Magnus played Queen A5 check right away, so there might be something wrong with Knight A6.
Yeah, well, why I suddenly was silent because Ding, in fact, has played the move Bishop E3 after Queen takes C5. A very, very interesting move, sacrificing the pawn on C4, basically, claiming that, okay, go on and take it, then you're going to face Rook C1, and I'm not sure if you're going to enjoy this at all.
Just continue, Knight C6, I'm guessing Bishop G2, and I think you want the tempo Knight D5, and I got to go Queen B4, or Queen A6, just get the Queen out of the way.
Yeah, somewhere, yeah.
Right. I mean, I know there's the Catalan pawn sacrifice. Grandmaster Lev Albert used to love to play a pawn sacrifice like this, but this isn't a position that I'm familiar with in theory. And I'm a pawn grabber, Peter. I don't quite get it.
Yeah, I think this is typically the position that you have to know, and you have to have checked with computer in order to understand why you can give the pawn, because all these lines are often very mysterious. So if you don't know the follow-up, then basically you can't really play this move. And I believe that somehow Ding, because he took like 1.5 minutes for Bishop E3, so it was not like he blitzed it out, but I believe that he must have seen it, because otherwise he wouldn't have played bishop e3.
Well, your move queen a4 is rather a prelude to bishop e3. And I'm just looking at the cameras of the players, and it's sort of like Ding almost looked like, oh no, I blundered. He's got his head in his hands, and Magnus is sitting there thinking to himself, okay, like we've been on a roller coaster ride today. I mean, we traded blows. I just got lucky in game 3, and my opponent's offering me a pawn. Why?
Yeah, and he declined it. He, after some hesitation, played the move queen a5, but I would say that in this sense, then white has gained something, and this something might be of quite big importance.
Yeah. Okay. Queen a5. Definitely one of my from childhood. I want to say from the time I started playing chess, one of my greatest pleasures was developing with a tempo. I mean, of course, I want to capture my opponent's pieces, and of course, I want to checkmate my opponent. But I knew that when I was developing with a tempo, I was doing very good things for myself, for my game. And what you were about to say, Peter, I think, was that white gained a very important development. One of the keys, I think, whenever you're facing against fianchetto, is sometimes you get to play queen d2 and bishop h6. You get rid of your opponent's dark square bishop, and somehow this move bishop e3, this gain of tempo, it really feels good. I like white's position. I would sign up for this if I was in Ding's shoes. What about you? How do you evaluate this situation?
I think everything depends on some move per move variations, because if white managed to stabilize, now the big question is, where do you go with your knight? Because there is the option of just simply developing the knight to f3, but that runs into something like knight e4. This is a typical idea from black. And another idea is just to play knight h3, keeping control of the e4 square, because the white bishop on g2 is just beautiful in this long diagonal. And you are planning to reroute your knight to f4, getting access to d5. So let's just imagine a scenario that white gets his knight to f4, castles, and settles in. Then white will have the dream setup here. But the question is, can black do something? Can he harass white's position with some move? To be honest, I wasn't exactly sure how, but Ding has chose the move bishop d2. It's quite surprising.
But also a nice move too. First of all, I really did like your knight h3, knight f4 a lot, and the many English variations. That way of routing a knight to d5 is very thematic. Bishop d2 is a rather way of saying that your queen isn't comfortable on a5, and I always want to jump to d5. Your queen is going to go all the way back to d8, and then I get to play bishop c3 and force an advantageous trade on the d5 square. I must confess I like knight h3 better than bishop d2, but I still think that white's for choice even after bishop d2, Peter.
Yeah, but I think the point is that Ding very much wanted to, and he went knight h3 later on. Anyway. But the problem was that if you go knight h3, which we want so much, it probably allows black to use this tactical opportunity with d5. And you're just not gonna get time to get the knight to f4. After a move like c takes d5, you might have bishop takes h3, bishop takes h3, knight takes d5 using the pin. And black might be perfectly fine if I'm not blundering anything.
Wow. I don't think you're blundering anything. The move d5, yeah, that's a stunning move. I now talk about playing in gambit style. We talk about, queen takes c4. Now something like knight f4 takes on c4. I can imagine this gambit actually being favorable. But d5, okay, that was probably the move that that persuaded Ding to first play bishop d2.
Yeah, because after all, this bishop d2, rook c1 are very nice stabilizing moves. And basically by making sure that black cannot use these tactics immediately to break out, then he felt like if black has to slow down, and black did slow down. I mean, rook c1, d6 had been played. Now white, of course, went for knight h3. That's the strategical idea. Knight c6, knight f4, bishop d7 short, castle, rook fc8. So black is playing all these kind of typical moves, getting ready to evacuate the queen back to d8, and then try to play some a6, preparing somewhere b5. But I think being classical players, we like this position for white, no?
Big time, big time. And normally speaking, you get some kind of a Maroczy bind with c4, e4, and then you've got a bishop on e2. That doesn't always have the most beautiful say in the position. Contrarily, this bishop on g2 is really an annoying and a very effective piece. I like white a lot. I probably, the computers are probably saying, slightly better for white. I just think that in a practical game, it's just a lot easier to like white. And a lot of his strategy is based on moves like knight d5 and bishop c3. I don't know. He did play b3 in the game. I didn't know if you first want to defend the pawn on c4 with the move b3, and he did choose that. But I just feel like, sometimes it's not a question of playing the opponent or playing the match score. It's just like you want to play positions that your moves come very easily, and this is just one of them. For me, Peter, again, the engine's probably saying slightly better, something of that nature. But I like positions where I don't have to think too much. I know where all the pieces go, and I have an easy life.
Yeah, perfectly agreed. And I think also Liren is enjoying himself very, very much, because throughout this match, after day one, of course, which went like a dream for him, I felt like he never really got the type of position. He did miss some chances, but those chances were not the usual Liren chances, because we talked about this, that he has such a class. He has this game that can put Magnus Carlsen under pressure. But exactly like today we saw in the second game and in the current position, these are the type of positions where Liren can show his absolute talent and be really merciless. So I don't know what Magnus is doing. I mean, I would have definitely advised him not to get into this type of positions. But okay, he got them. I don't know what went wrong in the opening. Where came the surprise? Okay, probably this move, sixth bishop e3, came as a big surprise to Magnus. And yeah, really, if you haven't checked queen takes c4, and maybe queen takes c4 is not even possible, then during the game, especially with so much at stake, like at this, because let's not forget, if Ding managed to win this game, then he ties the match and it will be 2-2, and we will have a fifth day between these great players deciding the outcome of their match. So a really lot at stake. And everything goes as we probably expected. After knight d5, knight d5, knight e5, white played the move bishop g5, which we are dreaming about to make.
Exactly. No, this is all, again, I mean, maybe the computer is saying black's okay, but don't be fooled. This is a very unpleasant position in my view, and I like white a lot. I like the bishop on g2. I love the knight on d5. I like the pawn on c4. So for me, I mean, everything, white's in cruise mode, and the world champion's definitely under stress. For those of you who are joining us late, we saw an exchange of blows, and we saw probably, again, we've seen some great games in this, these Magnus Carlsen Tour finals that's benefiting Kiva. We've seen some great games, but do check out Ding Liren's victory. You'll go, wow, that was really good. And Peter, what the heck? We saw knight e5, bishop g5, knight c6. I mean, that looks like a logic glitch there. What happened?
Exactly. I think it's a very nice indication that Magnus is also very, very nervous. he just blitzed out the move knight e5, probably without thinking about anything. He just thought that his position is unpleasant, so what he should try to do, play as quickly as possible, put the pressure on his opponent, at least on the clock if already the position is unpleasant. But knight e5 was brutally met by bishop g5, and all of a sudden black had to go back to c6. So not only we did not like black's position, but black even lost 2 tempi from that position. Ding immediately used with queen d2, bishop e6, rook fd1, increasing the pressure. I mean, even some ideas like knight takes e7, knight takes e7, bishop takes b7, followed by some queen takes d6 later are in the position. I just wanted to mention this possibility, but to be honest, I feel like white has such a powerful position that there is no need to go for such tactics. And besides, Magnus has also sidestepped it with the move queen f8.
Yikes. Yeah. And these types of positions, one of the things that, again, white really benefits nicely from having his bishop on g2 is when white, with the superior, more active pieces, he gets a chance to crack open the position when he wants with the move c4, c5. So I just feel that, you know, along with his active pieces, more active pieces, better control of the game, white also has the one, and you're mentioning these nice tactical ideas, Peter, of sacrificing, but also options of seizing the initiative with c5. Again, I'm really surprised. Something went very badly wrong for Magnus in the opening. This is not good.
Yeah, absolutely not good. I mean, I'm, to be honest, almost speechless, because after all, this is a very important game. Yeah, it's, I mean, okay.
You could decide the set.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if Magnus survived this game, then okay, we will see a playoff, then everything is kind of under control. But if Ding Liren wins this nice position, then he just wins the set and he ties the match, and it will be a 5th day. And then Magnus will really regret, after winning that very impressive first game of today, that he let Ding back into business.
Exactly. Now, I'd love for you, Peter, if you would be so kind as to take us down that rabbit hole variation that you showed. Knight e7, knight e7, bishop b7. And Ding, by the way, did play the move b4, just enjoying himself. But that's 2 pawns. And as you were about to point out, you're picking up an exchange, but maybe even pawn number 3, that d6 pawn as well, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, it was promising, but as we already discussed, it looked so nice for white, the whole position, that you feel like maybe this is exactly what Magnus is provoking. And we all know that when suddenly Magnus gets a chance, then to fight back and create counter chances, then he is very dangerous. So in this sense, I fully agree Ding's choice. He just increases the pressure with b4. After that, Magnus said, yeah, I can't tolerate this bishop on g5 any longer, so let me go h6. White returns with the bishop to e3 and keeps all the trumps in his hands. I mean, in his hand, because the bishops, I mean, just look at this long diagonal, the bishop on e3 also eyeing the other pawn on a7, so it's not easy for black to play rook ab8, because then the pawn on a7 will be hanging. Black cannot play a6 because then there will be a fork coming on b6, and white is threatening to advance with c4, c5, a timely c4, c5, or timely b4, b5, depending if how black reacts. Very unpleasant position.
In the immortal words of somebody, oh dear, something has really gotten wrong here, Peter. And I'm just, can we put the world champion out of his misery after a move like King h7? What would Ding's approach be? Just defending the pawn on h6, maybe allowing for Queen d8, or I don't even know, Queen h8. I really don't know what Magnus is doing. How should Ding play, Peter?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I believe there are different approaches. Even something like h4 could be tried, because just to hint at, you know what, you weaken your king side, let me try to bother you with h5, and if black would stop that with h5, then the white bishop could simply return to g5, which was really disturbing black big time.
Yep.
So even moves like h4, on the other hand, you have to be careful with a move like h4 because it weakens the g4 square.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, maybe black can try to think about something like knight e5, which hits the pawn on c4, and then aims toward g4, attacking the bishop on e3. So those are the moves like h4. You have to think twice before doing that, because one thing you want to make sure that your opponent does not get any counter chances. And when we are talking about this, even the move f2, f4 comes to mind, just to restrict any kind of knight e5, and then I can maybe retreat my bishop to f2, even maybe go h3, king h2 myself, and just say, you know what, I'm not going to win this game slowly, but how are you going to hold it?
Yeah,
and
right.
If I just keep the pressure on like an old master, then please show me how you're going to play.
Yeah, the move f2, f4 at first blush, I think for a lot of amateur players, they're going, ooh, that move opens up my king and it blocks my bishop, and I'm fearful that move might not be the best move. But what Peter is saying, that when you play f4 and you start to think about what black's knight is going to do, and indeed overall, just the overall what is black going to do whatsoever, white on the other hand is ready to go, as Peter is mentioning, bishop f2, h3, and king h2, and slowly black will be strangled. There'll just be no play in the position. Besides the move f4, another completely I want to say contrary way of playing, maybe it's not the best, but also just a4, a5, Peter?
Yeah, that's also absolutely perfect idea, because again, using the fact that the white's bishops are so far powerful, and this knight on d5 makes it impossible for black to react with the move a5, which would be strategically desirable against this advance. But the b6 square is, and look at this, king h7, and Ding feels like I maybe have the time to, maybe I can do direct action. And after king h7, b5, knight e5, c5, blitzed out by Ding, as if he had anticipated the move king h7 and he already made himself ready with his answer.
Well, one of the things that, if I can get into Ding Liren's mindset for just a moment, is he knows he's got a fantastic chance, like right here, right now. Because if you look at all of white's position, and I want to really emphasize this, both of his rooks, he knows he's got everything beautifully into the game. Whereas black is actually playing the position, the rook on a8 is out. It's not there. The queen on f8, versus the queen on d2. He's going down all of his checklists, and he's saying, I'm better here, I'm better there, I'm better there. I don't want a tie break. Maybe before today's set, if you told me, 2 blitz games will decide the match, maybe he would have been agreeable, but not this game. This game, he now feels like it's almost an Armageddon. If he can win right here, right now. And to my mind, when he's playing b5, c5, he's calculating that after d6 takes c5, bishop takes c5, he's hitting e7. He's putting the world champion in a world of hurt.
Yeah, it will be very interesting how Magnus is planning to fight in this position. And he did play the move queen e8.
Queen e8? Wow. Okay, so maybe there are issues if we take on e7, but how about queen b4, just snuggling it up, protecting the bishop on c5 so that there's no rook takes c5 kind of counter chances, and eyeballing the e7 pawn, Peter?
Yeah, that's one option. Another move that came to mind is just simply to
a4,
play a4, increase the pressure, and okay, after all, queen e8 didn't really change much. So white has quite a nice choice here. The only problem why, or the danger what I felt, because I also spotted immediately this b5 c5 idea, that if white will not achieve exactly what he wants, and with b5 c5 basically he wants to put an end to black's position,
Right.
then it might work into black's favor, that the game gets more messy, more forced, and more chances, because after all now the structure has changed. Yeah.
Right.
And if black manages to get out, he will be fine. The only question is, will he get out?
Right. Will he survive the storm that he's currently facing? So A4 would just be a nice move. But I wasn't quite sure of the answer to Queen B4. Sorry to be a pest.
Yeah, no, I mean, Queen B4, of course. Yeah, it's very direct. Only that somehow I feel like,
yes, I understand.
Too many things are, I mean, not hanging. That wouldn't be the right word, but somehow it's a little bit shaky.
A little dysfunctional. I agree with that. But I can tell you, if I go bishop takes e7 and knight f6 in 2 moves, I will achieve perfect harmony. I will be at one with the universe.
Yeah, what if I take on d5?
Okay, now unfortunately, because of the c file, I think taking with the rook would be desirable, but bishop takes, okay, I'll fall for it. Okay. All right, well, I kind of pat myself on the back for just a moment. I'll hurt myself. I won the 2 bishops. Yay. Bishop e3, Peter?
You got the 2 bishops, but I at least got rid of this terrible, annoying knight on d5.
You did. It's just, yeah, lots of long-term, feels like a long-term advantage, but certainly we're both in agreement that Magnus is under pressure. He needs to survive the storm. I'm just checking the clocks. If I've got it right, it's about, well, 5 minutes to 6 minutes. Somehow I expected there to be a larger difference in time, but not so. So Ding Liren has been thinking for some time. So the 2 moves we've been looking at are A4 and Queen B4. Could Ding be thinking of B6? What looks to you to be the most? He's calculating something very deeply, Peter.
Yeah, that's for sure. The problem with b6 and queen b4 played, by the way, that if white plays b6, then black takes on d5. That's the defensive resource, because then after bishop d5 or queen d5, black has this very nice intermediate move with a takes b6, and finally he gets rid of the problems and opens the rook.
And the rook on a8, the one I was reprimanding for not having anything to say about the game, is in the game. So so he was looking at some forcing moves. I'm not exactly sure, but it took him a while, but he did play the move queen b4. Maybe he had the same reluctance that you were, misgivings that you were mentioning there, Peter, as well, that something's not completely in harmony. But now, having said that, definitely Magnus under pressure. How is he supposed to handle queen b4?
Yeah, that's a very good question and a very tough one. I also feel like Ding was probably hesitating between queen b4 and a4. He might have felt like if queen b4 works, then this should be the most powerful move. On the other hand, in order to make queen b4 choice, he had to make sure that he is definitely not missing somewhere something. One of the ideas that also come to mind, can black somehow try to play desperate with a5, try to use this moment that the queen is a little bit awkward?
A5, okay, so you're giving up the b6 square that way. I try to look. Sorry, I'll think about your proposal. I'm trying to look at the faces of the players and try to feel their tension. The weird part is the guy who looks the most concerned is Ding, whereas it seems to me whenever I look at Magnus, he's got this kind of California cool. He just seems imperturbed at the board, like nothing. So a5, you propose, Peter. Okay, I'll drop the queen back, not to a discovery, but say all the way to b1. I want to keep the I want to keep the b5 pawn well protected.
Yeah, I mean, queen b1, that's what I meant. Yeah, I did weaken my structure, but at least I forced your queen back. But a5 was suggested out of desperation, and Magnus actually chose the defense I was first suggesting. So eliminating this knight on d5, because, okay, how long can you tolerate this? Bishop takes d5 and rook c7 played. Yes, I know, and I agree that it's bad, but how bad it is?
Exactly. I mean, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Giving up the two bishops, giving your opponent these nice diagonals. If you don't have a choice, you don't have a choice. So bishop takes d5, bishop takes d5, rook c7, and well, because the pawn was on a7, I think I played bishop e3, Peter.
Yeah,
I think
and that was quite annoying.
Yeah, I think it's bad. It's a good question. How bad is it? I don't know. I mean, the engines usually prefer the two bishops, so I'm going to say they're giving white a point, meaning a pawn advantage. I know that, sometimes I get really shocked when I play over a game after it was over, and a position where a player isn't even behind material. Sometimes they say it's a 3-point advantage, and I'm like, whoa. So I have a hard time guessing how big an advantage white has, but I'm going to guess a pawn after the move bishop e3.
Yeah, but what you said, it's very interesting. Yeah, somehow all these modern engines, I feel like in the evaluation, there had been some incredible inflation compared to the 90s or the 2000s, because I remember that when you worked with Fritz and with all these older engines, then +2 was appearing when basically you almost had to design. And
Right.
nowadays, those +2, +3 position often happens that even a very good player does not really understand that why is that. Yeah, and in this regard, I feel that, yeah, there had been some movements toward this increasing the evaluations, maybe to make the engines even more attractive. But I mean, believe me, often a chess player just needs a +1 position which he knows how to deal with, and he's more than happy. He doesn't need this computer +3 positions which he doesn't know what to do with.
Exactly. And sometimes what you're saying, the simple, clear, logical way of play is to be preferred over a chaotic +3. By the way, I'm seeing a move that never crossed my mind. Rook c1 to b1 by Liren, and I'm going to let you explain to our audience why that was genius.
I don't know why it was genius, and it's another question. Was it genius at all? Because black suddenly got the chance of playing e6 and maybe bishop f8, or do I lose material because of some pin? Yeah, and e6, bishop f8 immediately blitzed out.
Wow. And we've spoken about this numerous times on these broadcasts. I don't know, it's just we're lucky or not, Peter, but eliminating those two bishops, getting them off the board. I mean, Magnus is practically breathing a sigh of relief. I'm not saying he's out of the woods yet, but holy smokes, that was a good trade for Magnus.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, humanly speaking, for sure, because these two bishops were really so unpleasant.
They look terrible.
And now Magnus going for queen g7. I mean, one really has the feeling that white has to win some material right away, because if not, then just give black a move like rook a8 followed by b6, and it's rock solid.
Exactly. The worst of the storm is behind him. Now, he played rook b1. Was his intention to play, I'm trying to guess here, b7, b5, b6? I just don't understand the thinking behind the move rook b1. Okay, I'm at a loss, Peter. We'll just go with the play. I think we've just seen the rook b1 to c1 coming back. So it's like Liren is saying, I want to trade off the active pieces of my opponent so I can attack the pawn on b7. It's confounding, but there is a logic behind it. At the end of the day, the bishop on g2 is still pressing.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we see that Magnus, in order to keep the material, had to go for complete defense with rook e7, rook c5, f6. Very, very ugly. But on the other hand, what he needs is to keep the game going, to hang on as long as possible, because after all, yeah, queen c1 blitzed out, rook a8 also blitzed out. The position is bad, but if you are not losing and you get this b6 move in, then Black has chances to survive. And I would say that I would have preferred those two bishops advantages more than this type of advantage, when yes, maybe it's even serious advantage, but practically speaking now, Black feels that he has chance, and it's much easier to defend this position.
Agreed all around. Now, having said that, I do also think that this position is still in Ding Liren's favor. How much, though? I mean, okay, on a good day, he's going to go, yes, I was about to say b6, and one of these days he's going to have to go, I don't know, maybe something like f4 and bishop c6, but you got to win the game. I mean, you're going to have to disturb Black's, I don't want to say fortress, but just simply his setup.
Yeah, also this rook c8 is already a little bit interesting, because the point was that I believe that white does not necessarily want to change the pair of rooks, but if you go back to c3, I believe I might have the opportunity to go knight d7, using the fact that after rook c7 I can jump with the knight to c5, and all of a sudden everything is completely different. And I'm starting to go knight c5, and after a move like bishop c6, I maybe have the move rook c8 pinning you, and I know then I'm losing the f6 pawn at the end. In any case, still it feels like, yeah, rook c8 is the right move.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, not to let this knight somehow reroute to c5.
Well, you made such a compelling argument. Why can't I do that, Peter? Rook takes c8, queen takes c8, knight d7.
I mean, I felt like that here somehow white will use will invade with rook to d8, and simply, I also believe the players, yeah, that when they play and they make their choice, that they think they have something behind it.
Right.
And as a commentator, you try to explain what is happening, and the first reaction that I always have that, he played this move, so probably this and that he has in mind. And I like Magnus's choice. He went queen f8, he wants stability.
Okay.
And after queen f8, rook takes c8, queen takes c8, we see the move f4, knight f7 played. I don't know, it feels to me like Black is very, very solid, and I'm not sure. I mean, just as I mentioned, exchanging one pair of rooks wasn't really what white desired from this position. Right,
and I am seeing, again, in my mind's eye, if I'm Black, I just feel like, such a this sense of relief that I got rid of some of the pieces that were really putting on pressure. And okay, not that the knight is great on f7. I like the knight on c5, as you said, but I am seeing that Black is going king g7. He's going e6, e5, and okay, you get this great bishop on c6. But it doesn't mean game over, right? You just have a good bishop on c6. I can play on the dark squares as well. In short, I feel that the advantage is slipping for Ding Liren.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm even not really sure that practically speaking he's any better anymore, because Black's play is so much simpler, just stabilizing king g7. Okay, I assume that white will put a bishop on c6, and then later you can go rook c7, put queen on e7. There are so many ideas, while white doesn't really have a real entry. And right. Look at this, Ding Liren down to 1.5 minutes. So not only he somehow misplayed, but he also clearly behind on the clock.
Right. And again, for those of you who may be joining us late, We are in game 4 of a set of 4 games. The score is tied 1.5, 1.5. World champion was in deep trouble in game 3, but he managed to save it. The winner of this game will win the set, and if it was Magnus Carlsen who wins this game, he books his seat to the finals. If Ding Liren wins this game, it means that we'll be back tomorrow for the fifth and deciding set of games. And finally, should they draw, then we're going to see a 2 blitz games, a pair of blitz games to decide the winner of the set. And we've just seen the move Queen C6, Peter.
Yeah,
Whatever
I like
you
this.
do,
I like this choice very much by Ding. I mean, let's not forget he's done now to 50 seconds on the clock, so he also has to make sure that not he will end up with very little time and all of a sudden there will be complications. And after exchanging the queens, basically, I think he makes sure that he cannot lose this game. And believe me, I believe it must have crossed his mind because he knew that he was so much better. And then with little time on the clock and some messy position, anything can happen. But like this, he's in charge. But I don't see him winning.
Yeah, I was about to say, isn't it an easy, well, again, Magnus was the player who says, I don't believe in fortresses. But I'm thinking that as soon as Black gets to go King E7 and maybe even, I don't know, Knight D8, I don't see him losing.
No, not at all. Yeah, basically.
And Knight D8 on the board as advertised. So it looks like this semifinal.
No, but hang on. Sorry to interrupt. Isn't White in trouble now?
White in trouble. Why is White in trouble? Because, you mean Rook C1 just King E7 to D6.
Exactly, because E4 trying to meet King D6 with E5 doesn't work because of Knight takes C6.
Or Rook takes C6 as well. Yeah, you blocked your bishop after E4. I mean, oh my word.
But okay, very nice. King E3. What a profit! I mean, this is great. Yeah. And I'm very happy,
move.
Because it would have been too much if Ding Liren loses this and Magnus moves to the final thanks to this victory. I mean, I have nothing against Magnus going to the finals, but not this way.
Yeah, a draw, and oh my goodness, I mean these last two games, I think for a lot of the Chinese fans are sitting there going, "Oh, our hero!" I mean, he had game 3. He just let it slip when he played this move A4, and even that might have been winning as well. But I also feel this game 4 just, man, Peter, you just can't have these many opportunities. Tanya, these opportunities don't come this often, and Ding is squandering them. I was just going to say, Tanya.
Yes.
There you go. Sorry, I think you muted yourself unintentionally.
I forgot to unmute myself. That's what happened. I was talking about Ding's play. I think game 2 was absolutely phenomenal, and he basically destroyed Magnus's king in that game. And Magnus played on till checkmate. And we've often a lot of you have been asking that how come Magnus did not resign earlier in that game. I think a lot of times what happens at the very elite level and actually at every level, that when your opponent has played such a beautiful and a stunning attack, you almost acknowledge it by letting the mate play on the board. And I think we've seen these top guys do that time and time again. Of course, they know that they're lost, and of course, they know that the checkmate is incoming, but they let it play out on the board because it's just too beautiful to not. And that's what happened there. Also, we were talking about game 3 and how that ending had big chances for Ding after messing up with King C4. And then I had a look at chat, and obviously chat always knows best. And they kept saying that, no, in fact, it was not winning for Ding at any moment. And Sese said that it was. it was a draw all along and no real chances. And I had a proper look at it. And chat, you are absolutely right. You guys know best. We also had a tweet. It seems according to Sase, it was zero point 0.0 all along. No chances lost. Can't believe it. Indeed, this is true. And of course, it's amazing what these modern engines, how they can see so far ahead, and the evaluations and the lines that they come across. But Peter, I had a look. Definitely, A4 itself was not a great idea and probably would have offered more difficulty for Magnus if he would have gone King C4. But even in that, eventually, with the A passer, the computer does not find a way to actually convert it. Too few pawns on the board is what it says. And let's take a look at what the other conversations that we had on Twitter. We are, of course, going to be going in for the Blitz very soon. It's a 2-2 tie. I think I feel that Magnus is feeling a bit shaky right now. He's had 3 difficult games and 1 he lost. 2 he managed to defend. Even the last game, I think Ding was the one pushing throughout and having a good position from the middle game. Again, not very clear where that big opportunity was, but a very pleasant game out and all for Ding Liren. Magnus on the back foot throughout till the very end. A nice spot by Peter with the defense of King E3 in case Black tried to go on with King E7. Let's take a look at some of the other stuff that's going on Twitter before we have lift off with Blitz. Brilliant game 2 by Ding. Just curious, why did Magnus let him mate himself? I mean, usually they resign before that. Intoxicated whale. We were talking about this. Like I said, that a lot of times the attack is so beautiful that you let it play out to its end. Let's move on. We had Tom writing in. It's not easy to interview children, but you were superb with Tani. Well done. That should go. I was not expecting that one on the screen. And but thank you, Tom. That's very, very sweet. I think Tani was just an absolute pleasure to have. And I think the maturity he shows, the confidence with which he talks, the way he sees, the way he was analyzing with Peter. And yes, absolutely not intimidated with anything. And just also the tactics that he saw, the positions he saw. He's got so much talent, and I think with the right support and the hard work that he is putting in, a very, very bright future. And I'm looking forward to seeing where he goes. I think very important years coming up for him, and I think Yas can perhaps tell us more about this, that I'm sure St. Louis is also helping him a lot, and the United States Chess Federation. Looking forward to seeing more of Tani in the future. Let's move on. Great commentary. Love you guys. Love you back. I hope we will have this kind of great moments in the next Days Chess 24. Yes, like we've been saying, that there is a lot of more excitement coming your way, lots of more chess, and I'll be giving you more details on that soon, but definitely keep your eyes out on chess24.com. Lots of exciting stuff coming your way. The tour is about to end, but the chess continues. The show must go on. Let's move on to the next one. We had Brian writing in with, could anyone mention when the next chess tournament is coming up? When the next tournament is coming up, or advice on whether there is a tournament timetable available to us? I'm going to get back on this once I get the update on, and I will be giving out some details at the end of our show today about what more is to look forward to very, very soon. Let's move on to the next one. We had Vishal Sareen, International Master Vishal Sareen writing in, I think Magnus is doing for chess what Gary's dreams in the early 90s, making the royal game a pro sport in the history of the future. Both names will be up there above everyone else when chess is discussed. Undoubtedly, I think we've got great players of all times. We've got world champions, we've got legends, but I definitely think that there's something that sets these two, Garry Kasparov and Magnus Carlsen, just a notch higher. It feels just their dominating win after win, their performance after performance. Gary in his era, Magnus now, we've seen them do it over and over again. And I think you're right. These are two players that will be spoken about regardless, just timeless chess from both these legends. And what else do we have? We had Lars writing in to Yasa. I'm sorry, just give me a second. And yes, this one's for you. I see that you are with us.
Yes.
Having worked with Korchnoi, did you grow to share his distaste for the King's Indian defense? I read in Gallagher's book that he loathed it with a passion and that he spent decades working to refute it. Any Korchnoi King's Indian stories? Yes. Take it away with Yas stories.
Well, absolutely. First of all, lots and lots of stories. But before I get to the stories, and no, he didn't convince me. No, he didn't. He didn't convince me that the King's Indian was refuted. As much as he tried, and you're absolutely right, he tried incredibly hard. It's not that I'm passionate about it, but I played the King's Indian myself against Garry Kasparov. Sacrificed my queen for 2 bishops and made a draw. But what I wanted to ask you, Tanya, was to talk a little bit about the bar that was beneath you, the Kiva bar. And we seem to be doing well. We started, there was a lot of white. Let's put it that way. We got a long way to go, but then we got a lot of green. Tell us about the Kiva.
You are absolutely right. Yes, we've seen this bar that you see below me going green strong, and that's exactly how we like it. And this is all thanks to our chess community, to all of us, to all you guys out there who have contributed to this brilliant cause of the Magnus Carlsen Chess Tour Finals, which supports Kiva's response during the pandemic. Kiva has been is a not-for-profit organization since 2005. They have been doing a lot for underserved communities, for businesses, for entrepreneurs, by micro-lending, by zero-interest lending, and helping businesses and entrepreneurs grow and their startups thrive. And now we all know that during this very, very difficult 2020, it's exactly these isolated communities and these isolated businesses that have been hit the most. And it's a very, very difficult time for them. So in response, Kiva is raising money to lend out to these communities to help them survive the pandemic and come out of this. And what better tool than chess to help with that? Because Chess24 has partnered up with this cause, and now you can invest in your education, in your chess education, by going premium, by buying premium membership, either for yourself or a friend or your family member. And by doing that, 50% of all premium membership during the Magnus Carlsen Chess Tour benefiting Kiva final will go to Kiva's cause of helping businesses survive a very, very difficult time. So definitely consider going premium right now. No better time. You get unlimited access to the several educational resources that are there on Chess24. There are courses by world champion Magnus Carlsen has done opening video courses. World champion Vishy Anand's done a course. Grandmaster Jan Gustafsson's done a course. Grandmaster Peter Swidler's done a course. It's how to improve your end game, how to improve your middle game, opening courses, just all of that, unlimited access. And we all have a lot of time right now. No better time than to get better at chess, to work at chess. And no better time than to leave an impact on your community, on the community through chess, because it's now that we need it the most. And I think this is why Tani's story was such a beautiful one. And he's just the perfect ambassador for our Impact Chess team, because I think it really shows how when a community comes together, it can fight any adversity, any challenge. And then with chess, it becomes magic, and it's miracles can happen, as Tani himself said it. So definitely consider going premium for your own chess interest, to become stronger at chess and also to give back to the community. Support everything that Chess24 does. Support chess and support businesses around the world which have suffered a lot due to the pandemic. All right, and we do have. And I'm also very, very glad and very happy and very proud to announce that we've got support coming in from so many different people and different communities and different organizations for this cause, who believe in the work that Kiva is doing and who believe that chess is such a great tool to make a difference. We've had Grandmaster Peter Lecko with his generous contribution. We've had Vasil Ivanchuk with his generous contribution. We've had David Martinez with his contribution. Magnus Carlsen himself saying that he'll be giving out 10% of his prize money towards the cause. And now we also had Unibet, who are a big sponsor of Magnus, who will be supporting Kiva's campaign with 1,000 euros, and they will be gifting out the premium memberships to the Office Bill Chess Club. Chess Club members. Office Bill Chess Club is also, of course, Magnus Carlsen, world champion Magnus Carlsen's chess club, and lots of kids, lots of talents there. So Unibet has come forward to donate these memberships to them, and in the process also helping out with Kiva's cause. Be a part of all of this, because I think no better time than right now. And talking about no better time than right now, we've got a couple of minutes before the blitz action, which is going to be absolutely insane, because that's the kind of chess that we've seen all day. Let's take a quick break, catch our breaths, and we'll see you soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Welcome back, and we are going to be having liftoff with the blitz action really soon. And we all know how our heart races when the time on the clock drops and when we go into blitz. We've got liftoff, so I'm going to hand it over. A quick reminder that there is the World Champions free endgame lesson on Chessable. Visit that. But for now, let's go straight to the blitz with Peter and Yas.
Thank you, Tanya. Peter, we've got a pair of blitz games. Each player starts with 5 minutes, and they will get 3 seconds bonus for each move they complete. So they'll be going at a pretty healthy clip. And thus far, they're playing very theoretical line of this London. Take us through it. Peter.
Yeah, thanks, Yasser. I mean, the point is that usually, and we have already seen in their first day matchup, they had this theoretical clash in the London system in their blitz playoff. So this time Ding went back to his d5 setup. However, he wanted to make it as concrete as possible, because it seemed like whenever Magnus got his structure, he's feeling too comfortable in these positions, especially in the blitz. So Ding wanted to put as much pressure as possible, and he went for this very sharp Queen b6, a critical test, somewhat risky, but a very principled approach. White is not getting his stable usual grip, but it gets very messy and very concrete. Bishop b5, g6 played, and after that, White castled, bishop g7, knight b3, and short castle played. Very, very dynamic, very sharp position.
Wow, absolutely. But I still have the impression, Peter, that because there was such a nice underlying logic to the play from both players, that I have to feel that we're still in theoretical territory.
Yes and no, because
See,
I mean, I'm not sure how much theory there is to this. And if there would have been so much theory, then I don't believe Magnus would have spent already so much time. But definitely the players must have analyzed this position. That's for sure. The question is when this analysis was done, yeah? Because clearly Ding came to this game ready that he gonna choose this variation if Magnus goes for the London system. But I'm not sure that Magnus anticipated exactly this line from Ding Liren.
Exactly. Now, for a moment there, I thought I saw that Ding Liren had 5 minutes to Magnus's 4, and that kind of buttresses exactly what you were saying there, Peter. That well, maybe the game was better prepared by Ding Liren. Now, he's just gone into quite a deep think, however, over the move bishop d7, because knight d4 obviously tickling the pawn on c6 is a concern, and now we see this move queen d3. I like I like white's pieces, the black squared bishop on e5, the knight on d4, any queen trades and knight goes to a5, and man, game over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this position is very, very tricky, but on the other hand, I believe that Black has enough dynamics, and yeah, knight e4 is played, bishop takes g7, king g7. Very important for Black not to trade on d3, because then it's terrible. So now Magnus trades himself on c4, goes for knight a5. This case, okay, Black can capture the pawn on c5.
But there's a knight d2 possibility?
Yeah, there is this knight d2 possibility, but do you really want to take this exchange?
No,
Okay.
I don't. I think rook b7, but has he done it? He's done it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they are blitzing out all these moves. I don't know.
Wow. I would have thought that this would be terrible, like as in really, really, really bad for Ding Liren. I mean, you and I have this kind of a magical belief in our minor pieces and pawns when we're facing a rook, but this looks just wonderful from White's point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. I'm just, shocked that how did Ding then went into this position. I mean, this is insane.
Exactly. It's just so bad because keep in mind, White has already won one pawn. C6 is a goner. I mean, we're losing C6. But the question is, we might be losing C4 as well. And if you put a white pawn, if you took that black C4 pawn off the board and put a white pawn there, then you would ask yourself a question: what the heck is that bishop on C8 ever, and I mean ever, going to do? It's just there. And if you could imagine White playing C3 with a black pawn on C4, White plays C3 and plays E4 as well. And again, the light squared bishop has no life, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm even more not liking, the fact that Ding started to think once he went into this sequence, because I mean, unless you knew how you're gonna solve all your problems here, you just cannot play this position. And practically this is lost. This knight on d4 is such a monster, because otherwise one could argue that, okay, Black can maybe just give up everything and activate himself with rook b8, getting rook b2 in and hitting the pawn on c2. But rook b2 does not hit the pawn on c2 because this knight on d4 keeps everything intact. And thanks to this, basically rook b8 does simply nothing apart of losing all the queenside pawns.
Exactly. That's exactly the problem that Black is facing. And in the meanwhile, too, it's not like there's any where's the counter play? Okay, Ding has seen an idea of rook f8 to d5, Peter. I've got a feeling there's a refutation to that move.
I mean, I don't know if there is a refutation, but I have to say that, yeah, probably it was the best move, because at least Black wants something. And it already felt like it was not even clear what kind of move Black could make. Yeah, and at least with rook d8, now knight a takes c6 played, rook d7 played instantly. There is a plan of exchanging at least one pair of rooks. Yeah.
Well, the rook on e7, definitely from Black's point of view, you can't tolerate that rook. It's just simply too powerful. Now, having said that, Peter, I'm just wondering, maybe it's positional overkill and I don't even need it. Rook e8, and somehow I was trying to put the bishop on a8, right? We trade rooks, and then I go knight a5, and I was trying to put the pawn on c6. You know what I wanted, but that's the unfortunate part. You do have that move just perfectly timed to prevent me from getting this position, which would have been, like one for the books. I want my name on this position, Peter.
I can understand that.
Yeah. Okay, but Magnus has now gotten 2 pawns for his exchange, and he's just, I think he's just thinking that, he's been gifted a really, really great position, and maybe he just thinks that he doesn't need to do anything special. Maybe he should just take on d7, Peter, and move his knight to either e5 or a5 and enjoy himself.
Yeah, but Magnus chose a different path. He kept the rooks alive with rook e5. I would say it's the ambitious approach.
Most ambitious, yes.
Yeah, rook c7, knight a5. So basically he wants to make sure that he gets this pawn to c6, just as you wanted, but
Right.
not allowing this rook d5 counterplay.
Well, then I have to say, he when he's been given a choice of something, but he's accepted both. He gets his pawn to c6, and he maintains the rooks. It's working out all too well for Magnus. I have a feeling this game just is over before it got started, Peter.
Yeah, I have the same feeling. And, I can't wonder that, is this London system really so good that you have to collapse? I mean, it just,
Right.
Ding is such a great player. I don't understand why is he struggling so much against this London system. It's not like that he had been suffering in this game, but already in a couple of games against Magnus, he has lost many very crucial games when actually if he would have not lost against the London system, the whole match could have been completely different against Magnus.
Exactly. Finally, we did see King f6 and Rook e7 as Ding Liren wanted to hunt down and absolutely force the trade of rooks. He has succeeded, but at such a great cost, Peter. 2 pawns down, the C pawn is still lost. King d2, c3, this pawn is going to go to c6, and it just looks like Black's position is some kind of a wreck.
Yeah, practically looking hopeless. You remember before we were discussing that White might push the pawn to c6, but maybe exactly now what Black wants to somehow achieve in order to, to get rook c8, c6, then he at least gets the king to c6 and maybe to c5. The position looks so bad that even this doesn't really help, but when you have a bad position, at least you try to look for what could at least limit my damage, yeah?
Exactly.
And that's one of the scenarios, and yeah, we are seeing that the players are thinking the same way. So Magnus went e4, rook c8 played, c6 played.
And here I can imagine that on Magnus's agenda is the move c2, c3. The move c2, c3, not only does it buttress the knight on d4, but then it keeps the pawn on c4, which in a sense is limiting the bishop on e6. And well, okay, there is this nice knight b7 check, redirecting the knight. By the way, it's like, it feels to me, if Ding has any chances, he's got to get his rook to b8, but somehow hasn't he just encouraged the knight to go to a6, Peter, or is that asking too much?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit, at least after forcing the pawn to c6, Black got this d6 square for the king. It was very important to time it correctly before White advances the pawn maybe to e5 and the king gets logged on e7. Now we see some repetition with knight b7, king c7. maybe Magnus just wants to win some time. Let's look at this. Magnus is down to 17 seconds.
I was about to say his clock has really burned a lot of time, and now he's feeling a little bit uncomfortable. But again, I want to just ask your opinion about knight a6. He didn't do it. It looks like a draw has been agreed. Wow, indeed. I really thought he was going to win this game. I thought it was almost gifted out of the opening. In the final position, knight a6, Peter, what would have happened? What's your take?
Yeah, I don't know what even to say. What I'm thinking nothing. I'm just a little bit shocked. Yeah, I was completely sure that, oh my God, Ding, after missing these 2 opportunities, now gonna lose this game and maybe just exit the tournament.
Exactly.
After surviving this, now I feel like this match is still keeping some real intrigues, for us.
A real roller coaster, Tanya. We just don't know who wants to win today's set of games.
I think both of them really want to win, Yas, but I think the point that's showing up right now, at least when I was watching the players when they were playing, I think stamina and energy is really coming into question. I think both of them look extremely exhausted, and with Blitz you need all the energy that you can get, and it's something that the players I think Magnus played a brilliant game right now. Ding also really good sources, but just in that very end, coming down to seconds, couldn't do it. And I think even in the last few games, we've seen Ding struggle converting or at least posing the biggest questions in better positions to Magnus. I really think that energy and stamina is in play right now, and the players are facing this really big challenge. One more Blitz game coming up. What an ending that was. And of course, endings are never, ever easy to play. And we've seen even for the world champion, especially low on the clock, it can be hard. But that happens rarely with Magnus. We've spoken about this time and time again, just how strong he is. And that is why we need to listen to when he and to what he has to say when it comes to endgame play. So I highly recommend you go check out Chessable's free lesson on endings given by the world champion himself. It's a 20-minute lesson where he talks about a game in detail of the world championship that he played in 2013 against Vishy Anand, and truly gives us an insight on how he makes decisions during endgames, in endings. What is it? Calculation, intuition, the different concepts, the different themes that exist, what is important, all of that's explained in a fabulous way. And of course, this is just a little teaser for what's coming up, because check out the trailer for what's coming up.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
And that's International Master John Bartholomew with World Champion Magnus Carlsen, who put together this extremely extensive course, the Magnus Touch, on the endings. We might never be World Champion. We might never become Magnus Carlsen, but we can play with the Magnus Touch if we can study and learn from what he has to say. We still have some time before the second game lifts off, and I think what Peter, you and Yas were discussing about the London, I think it's really crazy just how much trouble this innocent opening is giving Ding. And but we did see him in the first match win the Armageddon with playing against the London, where he played this slightly offbeat setup of going G6, Bishop G7, and that worked out great for him. But of course, he knew that Magnus would prepare against that, which is why he chose a different line, and it just collapsed really early on. And now we're going to have Ding with the white pieces. What's your prediction? Do you think we might see a knight off? We might see an E4 from Ding?
Well, thank you for that, Tanya. And I'm thinking that Ding is going to revert to his classical self, but help us out a little bit, because Peter and I both had the same impression that this Blitz game, the first Blitz game that we just And the engine sometimes surprises. I'm still shocked that you told me that Sissy said 0-0 in that previous ending. Was Magnus much better, or did the engine feel he was much better?
I haven't had the time to look at it right now. Yes, but I will check it out and I will get back to you. But just visually, I think we could all see just how dominating Magnus's position was. And I'm more interested than the engine, actually. I would, if Magnus does join us at some point, I would really want to know what he thought about it, because I think at the end of it, when you're playing Blitz, especially, right, it's the human way of thinking and the engine's way of thinking are two extremely different things. You have such little time, and we can see the players are ready to go for game 2 of the Blitz. If it's a tie, we will have an Armageddon. Magnus gets to decide the colors. A big game for Ding Liren coming up. I look at these two and you can just see how and we've got liftoff, so take it away. Yes, Peter.
Thank you, Tanya. And Peter, we have a repeat with G3. Will we see Magnus playing C5? No, we won't.
No, yeah, I mean, he changed already immediately. He played second move E6. So no more King's Indian structures. Enough is enough, as Magnus put it. Yeah, we see the classical Catalan. Right. I mean, of course, it's a very, very solid, reliable opening, but Ding Liren is really hell of a big expert. So very interesting to see how this game develops.
And in this classical Catalan, we see the classical closed Catalan variation with the move C7, C6. A lot of players might be surprised. Why did the guy go check and then go back with the bishop? Well, the idea is that the bishop on D2 actually is worse placed on the D2 square. It interferes with the knight's development and sometimes even the rook that can come to D1. So that's the idea behind the bishop B4 check, is to lure the bishop to D2 where it might be misplaced. Now, again, Peter, there was a time that players were going 20 moves deep and maybe much deeper in this Catalan. And you just mentioned yourself that Ding Liren is a big theoretical specialist here. Does that give him an edge?
Yeah, he's a big expert, but this move order with b6, bishop b7 is very rare. And okay, now finally Ding has reacted with c takes d5, c takes d5, rook c1. And I just wanted to mention the first game, because I mean, my and I believe also your impression was that both players were blitzing their game. And finally it turned out that Magnus ran out of time. Where did he really use this time? Yeah. And now also this brings me to this Ding Liren's hesitation of like 30 seconds that just somehow disbalancing your opponent at the beginning might play a very big role in a blitz game.
And now we just see the move rook on f1 to c1, Peter, as Ding Liren is eyeballing an opportunity of perhaps playing queen to c7. And he's got this knight on e5 that is a really gorgeous looking piece. And I see that you've just played the move knight on f6 to d7. Before I could extol the virtues of this beautiful knight, you kicked me out.
Yeah, not only I kicked you, but Magnus kicked as well.
More importantly. Okay, very nice, very nice. And Ding Liren went back. If you know, please do share. Are we still in what we would call theoretical territory or not?
No, to be honest, I don't think so. The point is that this b6, bishop b7, if I recall it, it used to be Gabriel Sargsyan's and Levon Aronyan's specialty back all the way like 2007. I believe back then I even prepared it for one of the games against Levon, and I played against him in Morelia, if I'm not mistaken. But ever since it went out of fashion, I can't really recall any new top class games. But what we are finally getting, I believe that Black got a very reasonable, very natural type of possession. Everything is harmonious. You always want to develop your knight to c6 because it gives you this chance of going knight a5, which Magnus also done.
Very nice, knight on a5. I see From Black's point of view, Black also can play like Bishop D6 and Queen E7. Nice little moves that improve his position, but he's just dropped his knight on that great outpost C4. And, well, I mean, sorry, but to my eyes, it almost looks like a Fischer random position. Pieces are getting posted on the first rank. Not my favorite rank for my pieces, Peter.
You know what strikes me again, that if we have the clocks right, and so far we always got the clocks right, then again, look at this. Magnus is almost 1.5 minutes behind on the clock. This is not something I'm used to from Magnus, because he's so fast. Maybe on the other hand, he thinks that, okay, give me a good position and I will handle the clock later. So he takes his time a little bit at the beginning, but this is something of a new element in this match.
Yeah, nobody's used to Magnus being behind on the clock because we've referenced it so often. He's beastly in Blitz and Bullet, winning the Blitz World Championship numerous times. Knight A4, A5, Knight B5, Peter, inviting a trade of knights on the B5 square. Is that a good idea for Black or not? Well, guess what? Oh, pardon me. It hasn't been played. Is it a good idea, Peter?
Yeah, I just, since you mentioned it, I wanted to illustrate that, this pawn on B5 can be really annoying for Black. I don't think that Magnus will let this happen.
Okay.
On the other hand, the knight on B5 is disturbing. The question is, will you play something like rook takes C1, queen B8, and then try to get rook C8 in, or will you try to play bishop A6? But then there are all kinds of knight A7 ideas. So Magnus is burning time, and I'm not liking this if he goes down below 2 minutes.
True. 2 minutes. Okay, we did see the former suggestion you made, which was a trade of rooks and queen B8. That looked like the, let's say, professional, just, prepare to the chopping block for lots of trades down the C file, Peter.
Yeah, it was the professional way of handling things. And if you get one more move, rook C8, then, okay, the position will be very, very drawish. The question is, can White somehow spice things up with B4, but it gives the C4 square, and also entering with the rook to C7 might not lead anywhere because your rook is feeling a little bit loose on C7.
If you could show that variation, say rook C7, rook D8, I think is the problem, because now the rook feels, like you say, a little insecure.
Yeah, and Ding went for B4.
Okay, as you say, I mean, if you got to spice it up, right?
Yeah.
And
B4, knight C4, B takes A5, B takes A5, and E4 played. Wow.
Okay,
this is spicy.
Definitely. Oh, that's some samba sauce. Knight, I was about to say, if you play E4 and you don't get something material going, this could easily rebound, because don't forget that bishop on E1 is really, I mean, it's not good. It's just not good. And after knight B6 trades, White's traded off his G2 bishop, which was guarding his king. I don't know, but it just kind of feels like Black is having more success than White so far with the pieces. Just my knee-jerk reaction. Yours, Peter?
I don't know. It's so complex, and I understand why Ding is taking his time, because okay, he was the one who entered these complications with B4. Yeah, if he wanted safety, and it's not an Armageddon game, it's not like he had to win this game at all cost. So he played the ambitious move. Then Magnus immediately reacted with knight C4, jumped on this possibility of creating counterplay. Now the big question is, whose pawn is weaker, the white pawn on A4 or the pawn on A5? Because after all, this bishop on E1 is really not doing that much, as you mentioned, but it targets the A5 pawn. So everything comes down to the next few moves.
We've seen a trade on D5 and catches up to the current game position, Peter.
Okay. For some reason, it was not updating, yeah?
Yeah, exactly, because it just the position blowed up.
Yeah, so we see a very forced sequence. Yeah, knight e5, queen b7, bishop takes a5. Wow.
Exactly. That was the wow I was thinking about, because knight takes a5 allows rook c7, which is why Magnus played bishop to g5.
Yeah, but bishop g5, this is...
Bishop takes b6. Bishop takes c1 has been played on the board, and bishop c5. What a game. Holy whoa. And Magnus gave up his bishop with the move rook a8, Peter.
Yeah, this is already something, I mean, an indication that something went wrong, yeah, for Magnus. He miscalculated, maybe not miscalculated, he just blundered this bishop takes a5 idea.
Right.
You know, I'm just feeling guilty because maybe I pushed the wrong button. I wanted to put on auto update, and by clicking wrongly, that was the reason why we didn't got that update, and it was quite an important moment. And now Liren is strategically winning basically this position.
Yeah, materially as well. I mean, the two minor pieces versus the rook is one thing, but in this position, on top of everything else, White has a great blockading knight and his own passer. That d pawn is, you put the bishop on a square.
But hang on, knight h4, queen a8.
Whoa, queen a8. That's a turnaround move. Oh my goodness. Queen a8, rook a1, queen h1 mate, Peter. Ding blundered terribly.
Yeah, this is shocking. I mean, he must have felt like, okay, now it's a tactical position. Let me make a couple of nice moves. Looking back, maybe opening up this long diagonal, which looked innocent, was maybe practically a dangerous choice.
I'm trying to look at the players. It's strange. Like Ding always looks like the most worried, and Magnus always has this California cool. I thought with the two minor pieces, Magnus was in deep trouble, and this move, queen a8, I'm sorry, it just turns the tables. I just don't see a move for Ding anymore. Rook a1 is simply a killing blow.
Yeah, this is so dramatic. I mean, if Ding really loses this position and ends the tournament, I mean, exits the tournament, this is heartbreaking because it looks like he has everything under control.
But I'm sorry, I mean, really, I think the long hours that we've all been putting in, I just don't see a move. He's played queen b2, but there's a rook check and there's c3. I suspect there might be other winning moves as well, but yeah, he has played c3, and now you're in this terrible pin. There should be, okay, there's a back rank mate. Maybe I should just go h6 and queen e4, Peter?
Yeah, h6 makes a lot of sense, but also you have the option of playing something like c2, queen takes c2, and then queen b7. But okay, there are still tricks with moving the bishop like to b4. So yeah, let's just open some window. Yeah, h6 played.
Yeah, Luft. As we say, we use the German word Luft for air. We give a little air to the king, so the king now has this h7 square that it can comfortably move to no back rank mates. And
yeah, White played the move d5. It had to be played. Both players done. Magnus done to 16 seconds, Ding 32. It cannot get more dramatic.
Exactly. And now we're expecting queen c8 so that you hit the bishop and you threaten queen f5 as well as ideas of c2. And that is a killer move, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, okay, maybe I have to take on c3, but yeah, this is lost.
Yeah, because after takes on c3, takes on b1 with a check, king will have to move, and then after rook b5, it will be rook versus bishop, 3 versus 3, easy win. And Ding therefore decided to give up his bishop. practically, I think that was a wise decision. How about you, Peter?
Yeah, and let's not forget, both players have 9 seconds each or even less. This is already not about chess. I mean, white got h5 in. This is some kind of a practical chance.
A big practical chance. I'm really stunned that Magnus has given, because the knight on f4 is suddenly kind of anchored. The problem is that maybe white's king is a little bit vulnerable, Peter?
Yeah, now especially after this rook b8, queen e4 check, Ding should have never allowed this queen e4, I believe.
Okay, looks like a mate is about to occur. f5 and rook h1. That looks like curtains at last. What a dramatic game, and what a tipsy-turvy day we had today in this semi-final. It really looks like Magnus is about to book his seat into the finals, and I can see from Ding Liren on my camera, he's just kind of shaking his head. What opportunities he's had, Peter?
Exactly, and now he's out and Magnus in the final. It could have been a completely different day. Of course, very important for Magnus, not only reaching the final, but also giving himself an additional extra one rest day, because let's not forget, Magnus had been playing the Legends tournament all the way to the final, winning the final. So by now he must be really, really exhausted. So one day of rest is what he needs before the finals.
Absolutely. I'm sure Hikaru, wherever Hikaru is, he was rooting for Ding Liren to go into overtime. But there we have it. Our finals are booked. And please, to everyone, get your questions ready for Tanya. She is, I'm sure, about to interview the world champion as he joins us. And as we wait for there to join us, go back through that sequence, if you don't mind, Peter. That was so, it just kind of, tactically, it all blew up all at once, too.
Yeah, it felt like this whole dynamic that my auto update stopped working had an effect on the players, because in just fraction of a second, so many things escalated here. I believe that this knight e5 move was a brilliant move by Ding, and he must have foreseen it and relied on it when he pushed b4 and e4, and maybe he seized the initiative here, and Magnus, I believe, blundered with queen b7, bishop takes a5, but we have Tanya here, and I trust Tanya, please.
We all trust Tanya.
After everything that we've seen and how I am completely shaken up with the chess that we've just witnessed, I don't trust myself, guys. It's been so topsy-turvy, and we're still waiting. Hopefully we'll have the world champion to take us through the thoughts, but what a match. And these two blitz games, absolutely insane. I think the first one, yes, you were asking about, did Magnus have any real chances in that ending? I think his best chance, I had a brief look at everything, no clear-cut way, but the best chance was to try and not trade off that last rook, but instead of on e7. Instead, he had some other moves, and yeah, if we can just back up a little bit. So around here, after knight a5, king f6, here Magnus had a nice idea with knight b5. It's just one of the possible moves, and it's interesting because now you can't take on e5. Just to show that line, it runs into knight c7, knight c6 check. And if instead of this you move the rook, the difference is that if you play rook e7 after knight b5, then white just moves away rook d5 now. And we do have, I think we are being joined by Magnus. Let me just check if he's here. Yes, he is. Magnus, congratulations.
Thank you.
That was a very dramatic day. You've qualified to the finals, but you look pretty shaken up right now. Tell us about how your impressions of today's match, because we were in shock for the most part.
Yeah, I think it was quite similar to the final match I had against Liren in the Chess Bowl Masters, in that first game was good, and after that it was a total mess. I mean, I can't believe that I actually escaped. But yeah, that's the way it is sometimes.
You did have a great start today, winning the first game, but then things went wrong right after. Game two was brilliantly played. Let's first take a look at the first game. The opening was a complete mess, but Ding was blitzing out his moves anyway. What was your feeling around this moment?
Yeah, so the whole B4 thing is line does not have a great reputation. So I cannot say that I knew too much about it, but I was pretty happy with the position that I got. I felt that I would have excellent compensation, and of course, the fact that I was thinking for a long time after Queen A3 was pretty encouraging as well. But yeah, I mean, he gave away both his extra pawns, but still he was considerably worse. And I was told that he could have made a draw at some point, but realistically, he was always in a lot of peril after this.
Yes. Yeah, and from now on, you made it look pretty smooth for this game, and then game two happened. And before we get to the second game, a lot of people were saying that how come Magnus was playing till the very end, till checkmate, and we were just talking about how sometimes the attack is so beautiful that you guys at the very top let it play out. Is that the reason why many times we see checkmates on the board?
I mean, it could be. In this case, I just thought he was going to play rook f1 and win, and I was going to resign then. And
Okay.
it turned out he had mate in one. So I think usually, well, at least sometimes when people play till mate in one, it's because they don't see it. Certainly that was the case today.
All right, fair enough, Magnus. And but this was, I mean, Ding played this game really well. What were your thoughts in this game? Where do you think it went really wrong for you?
I think I sort of messed it up a bit early. But my main issue was that I'd missed bishop takes h6 when he did that. Like, I thought the position was unbelievably dangerous for me in general, but that I could sort of escape. And then bishop h6 was just missed, and I missed bishop h7 as well. But in general, of course, he did it brilliantly.
Okay, fair enough. And also going into game three, game four, it looked like you were on the back foot in both these games. Were you worried at any point, specifically in game three? It looked like the ending had a lot of chances for black, but we weren't really sure where exactly. How were you evaluating the ending? Did you believe that you could hold it, or what was your evaluation of it?
I thought maybe it was holdable, maybe it was lost, but
Okay.
I would. Again, such considerations are not very interesting when you're at the board. You just try and find a way to play, whether it's playing for a win or for a draw. Of course, it was very dangerous, but at the moment when I played g3, when was like, yeah, this king d2 was, I think, quite important in g3. Here I felt fairly safe, because yeah, such endings with pawns on both sides and the bishop, when the bishop has targets like on a4, they're usually drawn. So this I did not feel so bad about, but certainly was dangerous.
And you mentioned a4. We actually were discussing this. If we could just back up this position, did you think about king c4 here as an option, because we felt that would be perhaps more challenging for white instead of giving a target on a4?
Yeah, I thought this was possible, but I go king d2, and then after king goes, I go with the king to c1.
Right, and knight d3, king b1 takes.
Yeah, takes, and then I give a check, and I take on f7.
And
Yeah, I would say maybe just g4 knight e3 and then bishop e6. I don't know if I'm quite in time, but again, my impression is that such endings are usually drawn.
Your impressions and your instincts are absolutely right on that. And even though we felt like this would be difficult, but it actually is absolutely holdable for white. Even in
No, I
games.
mean, the interesting thing about these positions, like, is that usually they're either winning or they're just dead drawn. And I think such positions, like, it looks like Mark has done everything right. He has an extra pawn, and all my pawns are on or my one pawn is on the wrong square, and his are on the right, but fixed on the right square. But again, the problem is it's very hard to make progress. Like, you cannot actually queen a pawn against the bishop and knight, and the bishop is unbelievably strong.
Yeah, it's exactly like one of those positions which the computer gives us advantage, but the advantage never really goes up. It's always at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Magnus, even in game 4, it felt that that Ding was doing quite well from the start. Tell me something, during the rapid portion, did you feel a bit shaky, especially after game 2, because it felt like Ding was constantly getting better positions than the one pushing? Did you have that feeling?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was very shaky, and yeah, in this game, I consider my position to be pretty much lost here after the opening. Like, I really didn't play well at all, and he was just crushing me. But yeah, somehow I was fighting back and I managed to hold, but I don't really know how.
And then we went into the blitz, and now in the first game, I think you, after the way the rapid had gone, you had reasons to feel good about your play in the first game of the blitz portion.
No, I mean, I was unhappy that I couldn't make any more of my position than I actually did, but I don't know. As I said, it was just a mess. And even this game, I wasn't that thrilled about.
And then the second one where you finally managed to win, it was, I mean, it looked really bad. And then Queen B7 was a complete oversight. What happened at that moment when you played Queen B7? Did you just completely miss Bishop A5, or what did you miss?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And then H4, that was quite a gift.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very natural move.
Yes.
But one that loses, I guess, from what should be a very good position. But I would say that even though white is a lot better in the blitz game, it's very little time. It's not obvious.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I still had serious hopes of holding this, but of course, winning it is a bit much.
Right, and then where you won it, and Magnus, you are in the final. Tell us immediately after finishing such a dramatic match, what's the first thought? Is it relief?
Yeah, obviously relief. Yeah, he put up an unbelievable fight today. I mean, yeah, I just needed every inch to win this particular match, and the main takeaway is I just gotta be better in the final. But you know,
sorry, go on.
There's a free day coming up, and plenty of chances to start again with from scratch.
It's also been a very long tournament itself, and the format's pretty brutal. And today, it especially felt like energy and stamina was coming into play. You must be happy that you've got one extra day before finals. Looks like you'll be needing it.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on meeting Hikaru in the finals? From our perspective, it looks like the two most deserving players have made it into the finals.
Yeah, certainly. He's been very, very strong in the entire tour. So it's no coincidence that he's in the final, and I absolutely agree that he deserves it based on the way that he's played.
All right, Magnus. I'm gonna hand it over. Congratulations. I know you're
Thank
very,
you.
very tired, and well done. We look forward to seeing you back for the finals and get some rest.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow. Sorry, yes.
Okay, I'm just going to say congratulations, Magnus. You do look tired. Well done. It just seems to me like just at the very end, you just pull things out of the fire, and you did it again. So well done. And maybe Peter has a chess question or two, but I'm looking forward to a great finals.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, Magnus. To be honest, I also haven't seen you so exhausted as you are now, so I don't even know if it's the right moment to ask any chess questions. So I fully agree if let's just skip this. And I would hand it back to Tanya if she has some more relaxing questions, because okay, this match was so intense, and I'm very happy that now that you reached the final, you really have this extra day, because I was talking in the commentary that having played that Legends tournament and the final and beating Jan Nepomniachtchi in the final in order to get Ding Liren into the tournament also, I mean, you have done so much for this whole tour. You deserve this rest day, make the best out of it, and we will be looking forward to this spring final against Hikaru.
Thanks a lot, Peter.
All right. Congratulations, Magnus, and we'll see you back in the finals. We are looking forward to an epic fight there. Thank you for joining us. All right, and there we have it. Magnus Carlsen, world champion, Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura, 5 times US champion, world #1 blitz player. Just the 2 most deserving players have made it into the finals of the Magnus Carlsen Chess Tour benefiting Kiva finals. I really don't think we could have set ourselves up for a more exciting and a dramatic finish. Today was just, I mean, I was thinking that Magnus was going to have it easy, especially the way the last 2 sets have gone for Ding Liren. But what an epic fight Ding put up, and congratulations to Ding Liren for the way he's played in the entire tour and for always coming back and fighting. We've seen him struggle with his internet connection in previous events, but still he's made it to 3 semifinals in the past in the entire tour. He's the world #3, a world-class player, one of the most challenging opponents to Magnus Carlsen, and we could see today in the match why that's the case. And also, Ding has said that he will be donating 5% of his prize money to the Kiva campaign. So extreme generosity. Thank you so much, Ding, for not only providing us with all the amazing chess entertainment and your fighting chess and just everything that you produce over the board, but also contributing to the community through chess. And also would like to thank Alan from the US for his contribution, who's made a significant donation to the Kasparov Chess Foundation in Africa. And thank you so much for that. We will be getting more of what's the conversation on Twitter in a bit. But before that, let's get Yas and Peter, because what a semifinal that was. And I have to say, kudos to Ding Liren to come back from a very difficult loss in game 1. I mean, just completely got destroyed there. But then how he bounced back and gave such a difficult fight. It was really anybody's match today.
No question about it, Tanya. Real roller coaster ride. And quite frankly, I'm a little shocked that we're interviewing Magnus Carlsen and not Ding Liren, because as soon as those tactics at the end of the second blitz game were revealed, White had a materially winning position, and Ding Liren is such a technically gifted player, Peter. I mean, he's so good in superior positions. I really expected him to kind of win it smoothly. We saw this move H4, and then suddenly we were both, oh my God, I mean, Queen A8, and it's game over. So really a topsy-turvy roller coaster ride, and I expected we were going to be interviewing Ding Liren, Peter.
Yeah, there was a moment when I also thought like this, but you know, it was very interesting. The moment that Knight C3, Rook A5 happened, I somehow had this feeling that I don't see exactly White's best move. Of course, I have still not spotted Queen E8, Rook A1, but it really irritated me that the move which would basically win the game is D4, D5 can't be played because the bishop on C5 is hanging, yeah?
Right.
And until you can't play D4, D5 in a blitz game with 30, 40 seconds on the clock, really anything can happen in this position. Of course, H4, Queen A8 was an incredible shock. I just don't know how poor Ding felt during the game and how he feels now, because I think this is such a shock that he will need quite some time to recover from.
Exactly. And instead of the move knight c3, I actually want to end the broadcast so I can go check my engine myself and see what he should have done. Should he play knight a3? Was there something of that nature, Peter? There had to be a clean win, because you're right. After knight c3, rook a5, your natural inclination is to go d5, and you can't do it. So it's something irritating about the position, to be sure. But again, Tanya, I got to say this, a big shout out to Ding Liren. He is simply a fantastic player, and he pours himself into the game, and he gave us a great show today.
Yes, you're on the money with your suggestion of knight a3. That was the right way to play, because after that, even if Magnus comes in with the queen to b3, you've got moves like queen g5 activating your own queen. And as we saw this, I think the thing with h4, as Magnus himself pointed out, it's such a natural looking move. And to spot queen a8, a retreating move, because queen a6, of course, does not have the same ideas, because you need to control the long diagonal as well. It's not an easy move to spot when you're playing on seconds. And, it's h4 is the kind of hand move that you make. And as Magnus pointed out, it's a natural move, but one that loses on the spot. But in fact, if you just move on a little bit with what happened here after he went queen b2, rook a1, knight b1, and all this was played. And actually at this, and let's go on to d5. And here, queen c8 was the move that actually gives away some advantage. And in the end, Ding had managed to stabilize here. There was a really pretty move, and I quickly wanted to show it, pointed out by the computers, the move queen to e8. And it's, of course, a move that perhaps in a classical game, all these players are going to find. But the whole point is that you're threatening queen e1. If you go something like queen d1, you still have c2. The point is that c2 pawn will always take away the ideas. And perhaps even stronger is to go queen e4 first instead of c2 in that particular position, because so the queen on e8 threatens not only queen e1 but also queen e8, and this gives a huge advantage and ends the game. Queen c8 gave opportunities for White to come back in the game, and Ding just about managed to do it, but in the end messed up. And if we just go on a little more, and I want to show you where Ding could have stabilized, he played brilliantly. After d5, h5, Peter, as you pointed out, h5 was an extremely important move. And let's go on when he went queen b6, rook b8. And here, Ding had to play queen e3. He just messed up with queen c5. And now these series of checks that happened on queen e4, and it was game over. But queen e3 and this endgame would have been absolutely holdable for White. It's very difficult for Black to break anything. If Black keeps the queens on the board, just everything's under control with h5, d5. And this would have been a big opportunity, but what a round we had, just so many ups and downs. And it feels a bit like Ding really had some chances today in the rapid portion especially. And it was, yes, just unfortunate, but the world champion is extremely, extremely strong. You just can't give him even a little bit of anything really, because he just takes it and he just crushes you. And as we see, he's in the finals of the tour. He's won 3 out of the 4 events that he's played. He's in the final, but I have to say that it's a dream final. Having Hikaru play against Magnus, we could not have asked for more.
Absolutely. I just have to get in one final comment for today's broadcast, because I think it was hilarious. In a chess sense, we definitely saw it all, right? But also, I have to say, it cracked me up when Magnus said, he didn't play to mate as a kind of a courtesy to his opponent to recognize and respect the brilliant play of his opponent. He simply missed mate and won. he was ready to resign after Rook F1. It's like, okay, that's the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Why? Were you showing your respect to your opponent for his brilliant play? No, I didn't see mate and one. I just thought, okay, now we have seen it all, Tanya. That was just hilariously funny for me.
Yes, you're totally right. And we went on and on about how, when there is this beautiful attack and you let your player play out, you let your opponent play out till the very end, because as a sign of acknowledging this attack. And he just said, no, I didn't see the mate. That was quite fun. And yes, of course, another big shout out to the entire chess community who's been making contributions to the Kiva campaign by helping to raise money for businesses that have been affected by the pandemic. And another big shout out to Alan, who has made a significant contribution, and he's going to be donating premium memberships to the Kasparov Chess Foundation in Africa. Thank you so much, Alan, for that. And chess is a great tool for making a big impact in the community. And of course, we had Tani today with us, which was an absolute pleasure, a great ambassador for our Impact Chess campaign, and for how truly chess has impacted our lives and continues to do so, and how we can bring about an impact in the world through chess. Another reminder, if you've not had enough of Magnus Carlsen, worry not, because the action never stops and we've got more for you. There is a free endgame lesson on Chessable that you can go check out and learn why and how is this guy so good at endings, because he lays it out bare, just his entire thought process of how he approaches endgames and just all the tools that are required to become a strong ending player. So definitely go check that out. The whole course is out tomorrow. And let's just see if we can get a couple of tweets up before we wrap up the show for today. Tomorrow is, of course, a rest day. And we will all, besides the players, the commentators will also be having a rest. So yes, Peter, enjoy your rest. And let's say goodbye to our audience. And we'll see you day after for an epic final.
Likewise, Tanya. Peter, it's always a pleasure to work with you both. Thank you, each and every one of you, for joining us. And we will see you for the finals. So good night.
Yeah, thank you, Yasser. Thank you, Tanya. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.